guys
sure.
talked about this for a minute last week.
Yep.
We want Moira again?
Today we are reviewing specifically the point of view of Lyerhis, who is looking to be the main healer for Team 40. To that extent, we're going to be less worried about like the macro play of the team as a whole and the shot calling involved there. I'm not good enough to like mention every mistake, and even at this level, there might be too many mistakes for like me to. It's like time prohibitive for me to say everything. So we're gonna just try to pick out some major ones that we see along the way, and how a certain hero sort of fits into the comp, and what they're hoping to accomplish. Okay. See if we can skip ahead a little bit. All right. So we're running Lucio and Koth, which is a fairly standard pick. We're running it with like an anti-dive sort of composition, which is a little rough in that there's not too much for us to do. Lucio's role in dive in general is to peel for the Zenyatta almost exclusively and make sure that he's alive, since he is sort of like a multiplier for the rest of the team's damage and focus. In anti-dive, however, with the static defense of the Orisa and generally how Hog plays, it's not going to be Lucio's job to so much peel, but sort of like dictate engages. So here, when an Orisa shield goes down, we're looking for Lucio to prevent the Orisa from being rushed down. In case they start jumping her shield, a boop back and a speed away will create ample distance to prevent the Orisa from being in too much danger. We also have a Reaper on our team, and we have a few characters like Roadhog that kind of really want to get close. So once we get like the initial pick, I would like to see the Lucio switch from a more passive style peeling to a more aggressive style, speeding in that Reaper, speeding in that Roadhog, and cleaning up the remaining members of the team. With a Moira on your team, you likely don't need to peel whatsoever. There's no one to necessarily peel for if they're not running like some quad tank rush strat.
Yeah, Tracer Junkrat.
So teams here, we drop to healing because we don't care about movement so much. We react to the Tracer, which is nice. We amp. Ooh, I don't like that amp. There's no real reason for that. We have plenty of healing as is, although I don't think we'll be punished for it in the next 12 seconds. I don't think we had any reason to amp. And the amps plus your ults are the way you really kind of carry these sort of games.
I got junk.
Nice.
Alright, so we're up a person or two. We're not doing anything with regards to healing. I like the attempts to help the Tracer here on the side flank. Once we initiated a couple picks, I think we could have swapped to speed sooner to convince the rest of our team to go acquire the rest of their team. Also, considering your Moira was in the backline there, I might have tried to go 2v1 this Tracer alongside Rondo and trying to make it a bit less fair. Healing here's fine.
Nice. Tracer right still?
We're a little behind on where I want to be on ult charge. Although Lucio's ult can be difficult to build, you really need to be landing shots.
Junk's still left. They're all going top left. Yeah, okay. Let's play back.
I don't think that amp is necessary either. But we're unlikely to be punished for it. Spamming is fine, no one cares about your accuracy.
Let's get this Winston.
Yeah, we left our team for a second to do that roundabout, which I'm not a huge fan of.
Nice.
Another amp. We swapped to speed during tire, good. So people can maneuver away. Going a little aggressive here. Seems fine.
I got Moira next, Moira.
Ooh, okay, so you really don't want to be booping people as part of your damage unless you're finishing them off. I guess we end up doing it here, so it's not that big of a deal.
Nice.
Just gotta be careful. We're using amp almost on cooldown. We have our ultimate. Is there anything we're saving our ultimate for? I don't think so. If I recall, they have like a Junkrat.
Back a little bit so we can use the.
We're probably saving our ultimate on the condition that our tanks are low and our Moira is unavailable and out of healing. They don't have any ultimates we're looking to counter with the Sound Barrier, so I'm looking for a beat drop at a critical time. If I recall, that's not exactly what happens.
Got junk.
I don't think you needed to heal there. I think you could have actually just sped him back to safety. Certainly no amp up.
They're coming in around back. I hooked monkey.
Sick hooks.
Some
No more
awkward tracking there, but it's fine. No one's expecting like the greatest aim from someone who doesn't have to do it consistently.
Moira low, high
Yeah,
ground.
our aim is okay.
Moira like one high ground.
Seem to be all over the place though. It's pretty good as a
Moira's
Lucio.
still left side. So they probably are banking a bunch of ults.
Alright, we have
There's yeah, it's fine.
we have enough to contest
Yeah.
it and play smart.
Alright, this could be last fight.
Totally Bongo or-
They're using ults here.
Alright, drop.
I'd probably drop now.
Oh,
I would definitely not drop now because we're down 2.
Moira. Okay, call targets.
Yeah, that's
on
awkward.
The bubble, break bubble. On Winston.
As I said in the overhead view, I really don't like that beat. Ooh, and that's gonna happen anyway.
Okay, no more ults. We're probably
Yeah,
probably gonna
nothing
lose
to
that.
do about that.
So we've got Reaper ults and Moira ults. And I almost have mine.
Alright, I don't think we need to use amp up out of spawn. This will actually delay us pushing in by 12 seconds. Or up to 12 seconds as we wait for the cooldown to come back. Instead, like there's no rush for where we need to be right now. And we could very much use that cooldown to either force an engagement or to amp healing or get someone to safety. No need for this amp.
Do they have any ults?
I realize it's
Did
not
they not
a
use?
situation where you're probably even thinking about whether or not that's important. Good call, good call. There's a little bit of delay on this speed boost. You notice here, it's not that big of a deal because we do end up going to it and we have 4 in aura. But,
Did they not use?
They might have Ferberus.
like here, as soon as you realize they're down 1, just swap.
Oh, go.
There's like a 2-second window here where we're not on speed, which actually delays us a little bit.
Monkey? Hooked monkey?
It's minor, of course. We end up making the correct decision, but sometimes those 2 seconds differences makes a big
Oh,
difference.
shit.
Notice how quickly we're building this next ultimate. That's good. We're hitting shots here. I probably wouldn't fuck around with the Pharah too much.
Shield in. Facing right. Crazy
He's in building?
Oop.
Building.
Yeah, we jumped around into that.
Got her.
We do a lot of jumping, which is generally dangerous as you climb because people track against jumps much better. Makes you way more predictable. Lucio kind of gets away with it because he's a fucking speed demon, and in midair he can change his trajectory thanks to like a wall boost or speed or boop to set people off. But all right, I think we're going standard dive here with soldier. Alright, let's take a look at these stats a bit. No one cares about accuracy, that seems fine. We have 1 offensive assist and 1 defensive assist. That seems really weak. We have only 3 sound barriers provided. I think we only built 1 ultimate. It was a rather quick game, but our 1 ultimate was like inconsequential. So we need to work towards that. No one cares about your hero damage necessarily. If you have a medal, great. If you're contributing and all, that's great. We have a good KDA though, so we're staying alive for the most part. Our only 2 deaths came from pulse bombs that were not even stuck to us though, and so that's something we need to work on either as a team or individually, just kind of not jumping around into shit. Both times I think we died in midair to a pulse bomb that was attached to something else, which is kind of upsetting. yeah, offensive and defensive assists are a little awkward here.
Seems good.
Although I'm not really sure what triggers an offensive assist for Lucio. Maybe it's just his damage.
Alright, sorry, where do you want to hold?
Again.
So with this team, we're looking to stick with the Zenyatta constantly. We're going to make sure he stays alive. Everyone else can kind of deal with themselves. The soldier's likely to be with us too, so in a sense, we're appealing for both these people and trying to keep them as long as possible. So I want to see you almost attached to the hip to these two. Obviously, if your Zenyatta's horrendously out of position, you're going to have to decide which one of these two are more important and which one can be peeled for. Just do your best. Your amps need to be saved for when they dive you.
So should we just go straight to the
Probably speeding people away more than amping healing to start with.
go straight to left?
Alright, amp out of spawn. No wall rides out of spawn means we're going to get there slower than we could have. And already we're kind of split. So remember, like, the important thing in this map is to set up the hit scan on high ground. The Zenyatta needs to follow up with him. I don't get the sense that you know where your Zenyatta is right now, and you're kind of just spamming across this sightline. This sightline is, like, fantastic for spam. I 100% agree that your positioning isn't bad. It's just, I don't think it's as good as it could be. If you're up here with the soldier and with the Zenyatta, then when they eventually try to remove him, because right now your team has position and they need to remove him, once they try to remove him, you're already there to intercept. See, they jumped him up high ground and you're not there. So now we're being ineffective because both of our tanks are going to jump up to assist. And we're just kind of left on the low ground without knowledge of where kind of the important members of our team that we're looking to peel for are.
Discord
At the very least, you can shoot the Winston bubble upon retreat to help it break earlier. Everyone can contribute to that shield bubble damage to prevent that pocket of protection from the enemy Winston. We get here, we amp healing, seems fine.
Tracer behind.
I don't hear us calling the tracer.
No, McCree.
From here on out, though, we don't really care about healing people. Our healing is going to be minimal. If instead we spend this time on speed chasing people down, that will benefit our team more. For the most part, like the dive supports, they generally don't generate much ult charge during the fight because their healing is minimal. They're kind of removed, and unless you're Jonak with like the nuts right clicks from Zenyatta, you're not building too much in the way of damage. But in between fights, when the tanks return to you and you start healing them up, that's when you really get a lot of ult charge.
McCree. 3-1.
Tracer on me. Tracer on.
Come down, jump down.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he dies here. I think we were kind of correct to drop to clean people up, but I don't recall how many people were currently up if it was just the tracer. If it was just the tracer, then probably staying near your Zenyatta to prevent him from being picked is more important than chasing the 0 people left standing. Anyway, there was just some disconnect between positionings between the two of you. If you were looking to push and stagger the rest of the enemy team more, you needed to be on speed, and you needed to be pushing aggressively, calling that shit. If you weren't concerned about that, then staying and peeling with your Zenyatta preemptively against a possible tracer was what's necessary. I know you're going to go back here and escort him to the point. The problem is, I don't know if that's even good. I like the amp heals here, particularly because you are the only healer and you're the only one who can do so, so you get to play with the tanks more. Speeding him back might not be necessary because as the only healer, you're leaving a window of opportunity here. So like they're regrouped about now, right? Maybe minus the tracer, but the tracer catches up really quick. They actually have an opportunity 6v4 right now without their without you having healers. And while dive tanks and dive in general can play pretty much away from that and stall it out long enough, I'm worried about how your soldier fares without the 2 people next to him who usually prevent his death. So he'll be forced to sprint instead of stand his ground. It seems they were slow to come in.
They're coming below.
Alright, we've put ourselves in a situation in the middle of the point where we're not really doing anything. There's no one in our aura. We know that our team is trying to reassemble on high ground for the most part, and that's honestly where we should be. If we end up walking this way and joining our diva here on the stairwell, we do run the risk of them just kind of cutting us off by either jumping the high ground stairwell and blocking us off from the true high ground, or coming this way and intercepting us, or this tracer catching us in the middle of it. And I just took a screenshot. Why would I do that? Let me delete that screenshot. Easy as that. Alright, look how low we get. If that tracer was, we were at like 75 health, if there was anyone else on us besides the tracer and a Moira orb, we run the risk of just kind of killing ourselves here. Dangerous. We're forced to blow amp. I don't even know if we needed to blow amp. There was pretty much only us low, right? We're gonna slowly be healed by our own aura here, so we can perhaps save our amp for a more crucial situation like during a dive. Right now, that's not what's happening, and we even are taking the Harmony Orb away from one of the tanks, which is an issue. There's some miscommunication here between the supports. I don't like your amp. I don't like shifting the Harmony Orb onto Lucio, especially if he's not in immediate danger. There's no one aggressing on you right now, so I don't think either of these are necessary.
They're trying to go high ground.
We should, okay, we're with our, this orb shouldn't be on the soldier. Mind you, it should probably just be on a tank so they can take space. I don't know if I like our positioning here rather than back at the doorway where we have a bit more cover from them. Everything seems generally fine. It's just I know where your Zenyatta is. He's back in the doorway, and so you're a little bit split, and he is liable to die here. He ends up dying to the McCree, but it easily could have been just a dive here. Alright, so what are we looking to do now? We're likely to lose this point because we're down 2. We don't have a sound barrier to turn it, and truth be told, I don't know if we'd want to turn it. Try to attempt this, because they should be coming in with some ults of their own relatively soon. I think our goal now is just to play for point percentage, and just try to stall this out as long as possible. As Lucio, we have a very, very good time doing that, as long as we don't take too much damage in the initial. Decent boop. That heal is, that amp is random, if I do say so. So here we are. Who is it saving? We're at like 150 when we start this amp. There's one person in our aura, and we leave him, and he's no longer in our aura for like half the amp, and we leave him. Just feels awkward. We're likely to die here. It seems fine. We stalled from like 25% to 50. It's not the worst.
I'm just gonna die.
We're just jumping around in the middle of space, though.
Oh, you fuckers.
We're amping again without wall riding out of spawn. It means we're getting there later, and we're like wasting our amp. But we're regrouping, so it won't matter. Let's double check things. 3 defensive assists, 1 offensive assist. I'm not really sure how you collect those as Lucio. But anyway, this game's been going on for, I can't quite minutes, 6 minutes. And we have 3 sound barriers provided. We can do a little bit better with that. We've collected 1 elimination since we started the round and 2 deaths, by the looks of things. Because I think we were 9-1 going into this. Maybe 9-2. In fact, I don't think we've died before this. Yeah, I think we were 9-2. Our healing done is whatever.
Alright, what else? They probably have,
So let me see if I can go back to exactly that moment. So, what are we saving sound barrier for? Well, we can't cancel out these ultimates, or this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. We have no ultimate that we're looking to save our defensive ultimate for. So what we're going to do is try to alternate between using tank ultimates and support ultimates to extend fights as long as possible. So you don't want to layer a Winston ultimate with a defensive or with a support ultimate, for instance, or layer a diva mech with a sound barrier either. we're going to look to extend engages because dive in general just doesn't have the sustain to take extended engagements, but we have 4 ultimates that allow us to extend beyond our normal means. All 4 of these are used almost in a defensive fashion. With this, actually, we might be able to offensively take one since there's nothing to hold for. But it's really going to depend on how good of an engage we get.
They probably have.
So we have a lot of liberty to use this ultimate as we see fit.
Sticky's down.
Probably high noon, yeah.
Lucio
Might
peeks.
have beat.
We're lingering here a while. How long do we linger here for?
Okay, where are we going, Winston?
Taking a lot of poke, which isn't good. Should just be on speed mostly.
D.Va.
The breaking shield seems good. We're with our team, we're getting good aura value. We ult in response to their ult, seems fine. We end up in an awkward position where both the tanks kind of leave. And so our amp doesn't do very much of anything.
Winston? I'm down.
Fuck, I needed ult.
Both your tanks are down. I would reset.
Yeah, let's reset. See if you can get out. Or if you can get the DMAC, that's huge.
Reset.
That's pretty big. Good play there. Good amp to get you out.
Alright, do they have any support ults? Do we
That was
expect
that was pretty well played.
They already, yeah. They
Yeah,
already
they
beat
just
Moira.
beat.
We got 4 people in that sound barrier. We line of sighted a couple people.
They used both.
They're trying to
support
That's
ults.
just team positioning more than I think
So we can.
Wait, high noon beat and
misuse by you.
Yep.
Okay.
Full
So we can
spawn.
probably
Full
use
spawn.
Soldier ult.
Nice.
Alright, Tracer.
We're joining the rush. We really kind of want to be on speed for the most part. Or, and hear me out, we probably don't want to amp the same thing that we're leaving on the whole time. I know myself personally, I like to leave on speed boost and then amp healing, but I know other people like to leave on healing and then amp speed boost. You need to work on which crossfade's more important. And it's really hard to play Lucio in that regard.
Oh, okay.
Good switch to speed. We're just leaving on this to extend the fight, seems fine. I don't think trades are necessarily a bad thing
I'm
here.
actually gonna reset here. I'm just gonna reset and come back.
Discord Tracer. Tracer recall down.
Boop is actually going to make it more difficult for you to land shots. It also consumes 4 ammo. So Boop does, I think, 25 damage, and each one of your shots deals 20. So with 4 shots consumed, you could be doing 80 damage instead of 25. And that's not including like the headshot bonus. So with your Boop on cooldown, you are also leaving like your teammates to be rushed, and you don't no longer have the peel available for them. So it's something to consider. It's great for like the Boop combo to like a bunch of headshots, then a quick Boop to like to quick combo an opponent. But if you're just using it regularly, it's inefficient for damage and actually makes it more difficult for your teammates to hone in on them as they're flying across the map.
What the fuck?
Yeah, you could have been peeling for him. And with your Boop on cooldown, you were unable to.
Yep. I'll be back in a sec.
Alright, we're 60 next ult. We should be able to build one before the end of this game.
Okay, I'm here.
I'd probably, if we're not going to speed anyone and we're not going to be on the high ground assisting with our peel, we should at least be looking down sight lines, probably from the high ground, honestly, with our team, to build this as aggressively as possible, just spamming down corridors. Swap speed, a little bit late. Oh, we have a wonderful commercial. Instead of giving that to them.
Perfect for felling trees.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Generally it's not bad. There's some, I think, misunderstanding of what we're supposed to be doing, but what we're not supposed to be doing, we're doing kind of well. So we're kind of masking it, you know.
Side.
It's a little loud, isn't it?
8. The orb.
Yep, there we are again. We have one person on
On Winston,
our.
on Winston, on Winston.
We're forced to amp here because we weren't there to boop. That's a shame.
Discord.
So now our tanks are going to suffer for it. And then we end up on the low ground. We're being really aggro here. Without coordination of our team, we only have one person on our
Baby Diva.
We run the risk of just straight dying here because we're in the middle of nowhere.
Baby D
Our
boys.
job is not to heal this tank. We amp. Seems fine.
I'm down.
We're very close to this ultimate. Our Zenyatta ends up here, of all places, which is a shame. Was that a good amp? It's hard to tell.
Calling targets.
I don't think our tanks got it. Let me just say they didn't.
Have to win this fight.
Yeah, boop them back into danger. Seems good.
Get the diva, diva, diva.
Doing a lot of
Lucio's on point
jumping.
as well.
Baby Diva,
Kill
baby
the
Diva,
Lucio,
baby
focus
Diva,
Lucio
baby
instead.
Diva. Tracer. Diva.
Your calling of a different target when you're not the target caller is just disjoining your team's focus.
Lucio 1.
Diva, come for Tracer.
Discord McCree. Winston.
Right.
Just kind of hopping around.
Honor, honor, honor. She's
Good
one,
peel
Tracer 1.
to prevent our death.
Literally 1.
Fuck. I got McCree, but then I got.
Amping heals seems fine. It's hard for me to judge Lucio play
Fuck.
because he's so circumstantial. Circumstantial. Yeah, that boop there is not helpful. Switching to speed seems fine. Got an amp. This will give us another beat drop.
Keep calling targets.
We
Oh,
just
nice.
don't use it.
Good job.
Okay.
That.
We got 2 people in our sound barrier, 1 including ourselves. So that 1 barrier on point ends up not hitting a lot of people just due to team's positioning. We have very few deaths and we have a decent healing. The fact that it's max when we played around with a Moira on our team is kind of concerning.
Oasis victory for Team 40.
I've never seen anything like that before in my
We
life.
only have
boys.
8 assists. Yeah, I'm not really sure what constitutes an assist here.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Let's go to something I'm a bit more comfortable on.
Either one works.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to run what?
Why don't we try dive?
What are they running?
Alright, so our goal with this comp is to pocket Zenyatta to make sure he doesn't die, so his Discord Orb and Healing Orb have the max possible value. And since we're in the backline doing this, we might as well make ourselves available for the Widowmaker, damage boosting her and keeping her alive. We are not looking to dive with the team. In general, if we can get away with it, a better team will be able to focus us there on the front lines, because if any of their members notice we have a beam attached to the Winston, they'll be like, oh, there's the Mercy, and they'll just kill us. Unfortunately, situations don't always play out like that. If the front line is taking way too much fucking damage, sometimes you're forced to go in which case you are very much risking your own life doing so.
We might not need to play as much backline here because we're on attack.
So,
That's
So,
true.
with
yeah,
this
they're
composition as well,
running,
we're not looking to fully commit to a dive right away. We can wait for either a Discord on a good target or Widow to gain some value, and then we can go in. We can play it more slowly, and we can invite like a longer poking phase, since we have both the increased healing that a Mercy provides as opposed to a Lucio, so that we can sustain through further poke, and we have some of the best poke in a game with a long range sniper being able to just kind of eliminate people, especially when damage boosted. So not too many compositions are going to be able to out poke us, although some of them might be able to out sustain us. Because we have a Mercy, and if the option presents itself, we can certainly heal our tanks from a decent enough range. Ana would be better for this, but considering that if they're running full dive and we're running this sort of style, it would benefit our tanks to actually engage their tanks, in the sense that we have more healing for our tanks, so eventually their tanks are going to lose out. Like, we'll overcome the Zenyatta healing orb with our Mercy beam. If they have a Moira, we lose the healing battle for a little bit until Moira runs out of resources, and then we're good. So we have good sustain heals here in case of a tank v tank battle. If they're running a Rhine comp, yeah, we can just take it slowly with our Widow. Wait for something. Wait for a good Discord.
The Tracer in a 1v1, then you're fine. But if you can't,
Even if you can pressure her.
Well, I was gonna say I can chase him off a lot of the time, but there was like that one time where he just killed me in the middle of the team. It was ridiculous.
Let's focus here. So
I'm gonna listen to this.
go right past the Orissa's shield, hopefully.
I'm gonna boost Widow for a few shots.
Yep.
I'm not a
So you guys only have Zen Orb.
Honestly, dive only functions on Zen Orb.
Alright, Winston, call target.
But good communication.
They have Widow too. They have Widow too.
Team should be calling where Widow is, not just that they have
Where's
one.
Widow sitting? Do we know?
Not sure.
Oh,
Back corner. Nice. Okay. Go.
Alright, so we're already kind of split in that our tanks are here. They're gonna eat some poke. Our Zenyatta is like nowhere to be found, kind of helping him. I would prefer if like you as Mercy and Zenyatta are like behind statue right now, as the Widow kind of rotates up to this high ground here. That way, people are actually able to support each other and they share similar sight lines.
Winston, go.
Jumping.
So we end up.
Who are we targeting?
Zen.
We are kind of in a dangerous position. Luckily, they're down a person and they're not able to commit to this. But this dive is preemptive in that both our Widow and Zenyatta are not set up to support this whatsoever. So although on the map, it's currently, at first point, a 5v6 for the defense, because of this commitment like across sightlines, it's actually a 5v4 in favor of the defense. Like their positioning is just better. They have better health currently going on, and they can have that focus.
you guys
I
don't
can't
have
see him.
heals. Yeah, you guys don't have heals. That was a little too early.
That coming in, yeah. You should have just reset.
Yeah, it's scattered. That's alright. We can fight this.
Yeah, I was
They're
repositioning.
down.
I don't mind the pistoling here to try to get extra ult charge. That's kind of adorable, actually.
Fight it.
We're down.
I
Okay,
got
group up,
trapped.
group up.
Yeah.
I'm actually just gonna go die or kill someone.
Oh, I'm in a bad spot.
Yeah, back.
So one thing
Yeah.
about diving,
Okay.
like Orisa Hog, like you can't dive on the
modern
things.
medicine.
I think they were trying to take advantage of the advantage in numbers they perceived they had at the time. Which case, trying to trade in like that is like whatever. They tried to get on the Zen, if I recall, but they just did it poorly. Could have definitely played that more slowly to at least set up a good positioning and a crossfire, and then commit to something. Because what you're really looking to do with your Widow and your tanks is force them back to like that pocket between the hotel and the archway, and really take away their space.
I can't heal.
Yeah.
both of
Oh,
you
really?
right now.
They're really trying to pull this shit right now? Come on.
Alright.
Did someone call a doctor?
Yep, that's good.
I don't understand your
Good call,
Zenyatta's
Bagel.
positioning.
Also, wait until Zen gets in position. Like if none of
Yeah,
if
I
neither of
was
you
trying
have
to take high
orbs.
ground with Widow.
Yeah. If neither
Okay.
of you have orbs, don't dive up.
Yeah, let me get up top.
Good communication.
Be careful. Be
We're taking a lot of damage on approach. I don't think we need to do.
careful up top because there's a Widow there.
We're also really kind of like a poke phase is going to happen between two teams with a Widowmaker. They're going to be spamming down chokes in general. But we also need to take space. Like if you watched the Seal Nixel game that I posted in Theory Crafting, I think it was, is that like yes, there was an extended poke phase, so the dive team wasn't just pressing shift into the enemy team upon seeing them at first. They jockeyed for position. And so it seems like the DPS at least are jockeying for position. You have a Widow v Widow battle and you have some spam lines, but these tanks aren't doing anything right now. These tanks are just AFK. We need to take positioning
have a
as a
shield.
team,
Ich kümmere mich
using
um dich.
defense matrix to buy us entry to the more
I'm ready,
important parts
Bagel.
of the map.
Just trapper and look. Okay, trap down. Put a stop and
You need to have moved already.
Let's get you back out there.
That jump is dangerous. If you got hooked there, you would have thrown that.
Nope, I'm fucked. Alright, I don't think we're
I hear the junk rat.
being nearly quick and aggressive enough to dive.
That's not supportable. This fight is likely done. If you hope to get your ult, you're gonna get your ult from this, even just by passively sitting. But you cannot support this any longer, unfortunately.
I can switch up with it.
That's not good.
I like literally can't heal you through that.
Alright.
Pop trans.
Yeah, I agree that the tanks are taking really poor dives and they're misunderstanding how this team comp works. I think you're trying your best to support them, but in doing so, you're putting yourself in great danger. Something needs to change.
Valkyrie
Yeah.
online.
I think maybe.
You should be at peak performance.
Let's try one more
That's how the Widow ended up there.
push. They probably have. I guarantee they have tire. We pretty much need to kill this Junkrat. Like, we need to dive the junk. Let's just try and.
So the Junkrat's going to be in hotel the whole time. And so like you can't come through the hotel to fight him. In that you're going to eat all of your defense matrix and have to kill a trap somewhere along the way. And if you don't have enough of that, if you don't catch him in hotel in a bad aggressive position, what he's going to do is just retreat into his team, and then you're stuck in hotel against a Junkrat and a Orisa and a Hog, which is a very, very bad time. So the only way you can realistically jump the rat is by going like around the statue this way and forcing his entire team backwards through your Widow pressure and taking it really, really slowly. In which case, there might be better targets like the Zenyatta to jump.
Dive junk
No,
and go
wait,
from there.
no,
You put
we're
yourself
one
in-
down,
Widow's
we're one
good.
down, we're
You
one
put yourself in a really bad positioning so far in that
That's fine.
your first
Just wait for
couple
this.
pushes have failed and they've taken a while to do so. I think you only got like 3 pushes in, what is that, 2.5 minutes? Which is really fucking weak for dive considering how quickly they can engage. And you failed in such a way that you've built upon enemy ultimates, so this is going to be quite a hurdle to overcome.
Actually, if you guys
That was
dive,
bad. That was
I'm
terrible
taking
timing on their
care.
part. Alright.
Tracer,
Yeah, this is a
actually,
little preemptive.
Rondo, tell us when you're in position so that Winston can
Yeah.
like conserve with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Because otherwise, you're just gonna die.
Okay.
So nothing has changed now that we have a McCree instead of a Widowmaker. We're looking to stick with him and Zenyatta
Go
and
Winston.
enable them as much as
I'm
possible,
with you.
waiting for the tanks to jump back to us and healing them there.
I'm good.
We need to.
Okay,
We
go.
needed to Guardian Angel cross here.
So are we on? We're on Zen?
I hear the Junkrat.
Zen.
Junk
There's the Junkrat.
behind, junk behind, junk behind.
They got Zen.
It's more junk.
You're really not paying attention to his.
There we go.
You know he's going to be there. You should know he's going to be there.
The Junkrat
You
is
can hear him
the
shooting.
issue.
Nice though.
Widow, top. Discord.
Team seems likely to
We're on
win this
point,
regardless.
R1, on point.
What was that? That was a really delayed Guardian Angel. So like we
Point,
could have
R1,
jumped.
on point.
We could have jumped here. So instead of waiting for him to enter line of sight, we're already on the way and then we can shift the beam to him. Or anyone who's in danger. It probably doesn't matter here, but it's just kind of tunnel visioned on this heal.
Alright,
I
nice
didn't
job.
use trance, so we still
That's
have that.
good, actually.
Yeah, it's good, except that Boat Mode is also healing Bengal right now. So like,
I might swap off if we can't deal with the Junkrat. 'Cause
You needed a
your composition is fine. It's not the composition's fault that you keep dying to the Junkrat. It's like the team's awareness and some personal positioning issues. If you had gone with the team either time around the pillar instead of waiting for them to jump and then valking between the statue there and the hotel, you don't put yourself in that position where the Junkrat could as easily flank you.
doctor.
If that makes any sense?
A lot there's less Venom Mercy.
Yeah.
Like McCree's not mobile enough.
Why don't we switch it up? Let's switch off dive. Switch to Orisa Hog. I don't think dive's gonna work for us here.
Well, Zen's okay. But I'll switch off that.
Yeah, Zen is fine. I think the shield
They don't
would
have
help
Widow
against
anymore, so I don't
Junkrat.
think it's a big deal.
Orisa
Let's-
Hog.
I'm gonna lose a lot of ult charge for
I was
this.
gonna say we should keep the Diva if they still have a Tracer.
Healing stream engaged.
No one cares. Like, no one is like, yo, Tracer, better pick Diva. Like, Hog is better-ish. I don't
Tag
know.
junk up top.
They
Yeah,
do
McCree
The reason why
is
Tracer's so
but
good
I
is because
can-
there's no tanks you really want against her.
Ooh,
Tracer behind, backline. Discord. Oh,
That was
wow.
super delayed.
McCree should be able to do it.
ooh,
Tracer behind.
Yeah,
a
McCree does.
Tracer, but I can.
McCree should be able to do it.
You can hear her blink there. You really need to already be reacting.
Tracer behind, back line, Discord.
Super
Oh, wow.
late.
Okay, she almost hit me. Fuck.
We're also kind of rezzing in the, like, we're not in a good situation. I don't think we need to res. We're just kind of in reset mode. We're already down 1 or 2. We're likely to lose this during our resurrection timing. I don't think we can push.
We're losing this.
Yeah, we need
Yeah,
to.
just
let's
back.
back
Ooh, you cannot. Yeah, you cannot go save him.
Fuck. Moira's just inside team killing me again? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because we're
There's no reason to give them ult charge here when we've already built ours.
yeah, just stay here at spawn.
Well, they're 2 down and we have a better spawn, so
Yeah.
just take this fight. Let me get you past
We should still go set up because we have the shield.
Throw a shield out. Watch the junk trap. There you go. Alright, we should be able to push this. Got-
There's also, and it's a minor thing, there's no real reason for us to be in line of sight either. So like, the whole time we're healing Bagel, we're behind his shield, and that's cool. You know, so long as that shield is there, we are safe. But in the event that that shield somehow gets bursted down, we are wide in the open, and we don't really need to be. We can actually just sit behind the corner and never see down this line of sight, and we perform our job just as adequately with 0 danger. It doesn't matter so much here, it might matter in the future.
Got Zen. Got Zen. Got Zen. Got Zen. We can push.
Okay, we Valk here for some reason, just because our Hog gets hooked. Turns out he has plenty of cooldown, and he's perfectly safe. From here, we're looking to just damage boost and try to take advantage of our otherwise poor Valk.
This for sure.
Okay, cool. They don't
Nice job.
disengage in response to it.
Tracer still coming back around?
I think we're
We don't want to heal here since we're likely to win the fight. We need to be pushing forward with damage boost, and hopefully there's still health left over for us to acquire a separate Valk
Kratos
afterwards.
up there, he might be half. Unless he gets a health back.
Okay.
They don't have him up here. Tracer was up there, but she's already gone.
Got junk.
Nice.
Nice.
That's good.
Nice halt, dude.
We really should be pushing up here.
Orisa half.
We should be jumping this checkpoint.
Discord Hog.
That's rough. Okay, I don't know if we can win this fight anymore. We're down 3. Yeah, we can't win this fight.
Hog low.
Ooh, that's too bad.
They're pushing up.
That's a bad trance.
Oh, I didn't
Only
realize
down
that
2.
Yeah. Yeah, we should back out.
Fuck.
It's fine.
Alright, they blow a bunch of ultimates
They
and then
use
they need to.
they use trance as well.
I
Okay,
should
so
have
the-
considered that lost.
So that's
I
okay.
should've
So they
read
use
the
trance, they
point.
use hog. They haven't used Orisa bongos.
Alright, we are a decent ways off from our own ultimate. That kind of needs to be given. We only have 6 assists. That's rough. I guess the dive kind of really hurts that in that we're unlikely to be healing someone during them killing someone. We have 2 players resurrected. We have 4k healing. We have 74 damage amplified. We haven't done too much,
They've used
honestly.
Junkrat tire recently.
Let's get you back out there.
Did I hear someone upper left?
Tracer's back here.
I swapped
Is that more than one person? You see, here's another situation where like we're going to be taking Junkrat spam when we could just be line of sighting behind the wall and just peeking just to make sure that this beam doesn't disconnect every second or so.
Got Orisa. Hooked Orisa. Hooked Orisa.
Our risk is down.
Okay.
See, like that. That's much
Back
better.
up. Back up.
That's much better peeking.
Got Orisa. Hooked Orisa. Hooked
Like,
Orisa.
watch what we do with the hog.
Okay.
Like, that's much better.
Back up. Back up.
Sorry, he's in a bad position. We swap to the person more in danger. Seems good.
Fairy would actually be really good too.
Yeah. I've got junk. I've got hog.
Alright, we're looking to initiate this fight with Valkyrie damage boosting during this, pocketing the hog during his ult.
Oh,
This is very winnable,
we gotta
go,
touch
guys.
point.
We need to
even
go.
though we're going to be a little bit staggered in it. That's awkward. Damage boost him. No, you don't pistol people. No, no, no. Don't pistol people. Come on, man. I can't spell.
Orisa 1,
So why
Orisa
would
1.
we be pistoling? Like, it's the last fight. The entire point of this ultimate is to provide a team-wide nano boost or a team-wide 60 per second heal, right? Connected to everyone via spiderweb, essentially. And instead, we're going to give this up for pistoling people when we're down someone. We know that our hog has ultimate. Just pocket him. I agree we needed to get that bongo. So, but like, our hog could have done that if he had the assistance. It just seemed like we were
Orisa 1,
pistoling out of
Orisa 1.
frustration more than anything else.
Shit. Yeah, we did. Nope. Well, that's fine. I think starting on dive was a worthwhile endeavor. I mean, it's a tree junker.
It's fine.
Yep.
Alright, we're on Mercy again.
Well, because I mean,
In case they have dive, we're looking to pocket this guy to prevent his death. Otherwise, we're free to, heal whomever we want. If our soldier's taking high ground, the Zenyatta orb is probably going to be on him most of the time. Or we are forced to kind of Guardian Angel back and forth.
at first point, you're not really going anywhere, so speed boost isn't that great.
So, this is what I want to see.
Unless they dive.
I
case having a
mean,
get
even
out
if they dive, it's
Yeah,
still not amazing.
it's true.
So, with this composition, if I can stop here. We are looking for the Junkrat to be in this hotel here. And here's the doorway, just out of line of sight here. He's going to be spamming out this doorway with a trap probably set up like here or in the entryway or something like that. He's going to control this space. He's going to control the entire right side and force them to come around left. While he's doing that, you're going to sit basically here as Mercy. Your goal is to boost him. Boost the Junkrat whenever possible, providing him some pocket healing in case he is rushed or otherwise damaged, probably from a rush. And when you're standing here on this step, you can also help your tanks who are set up here or here, depending on what phase of the approach the enemy team is in. Your Zenyatta is probably here, so he's out of line of sight from most things, but he can still assist soldiers on the high ground if soldiers decides to be there. Otherwise, soldiers back here with him. So he can orb you if you get in danger. He can orb the tanks if the tanks are in danger. He can quickly orb the Junkrat if the Junkrat has any issues, and he can get discords on people as they approach. So the team fight's going to go you here, Junkrat here. So let me do this. Mercy, Junk. That's your starting position. And we have the tanks up front here, looking at choke as people come in and slowly inching their way backwards. Zenyatta gets to play up with long sightlines behind the shield, spamming down chokes, and then he slowly shifts back even further, and we'll put Soldier with him for now if Soldier's not on high ground, or Soldier can be like up here. And I realize that looks more like a 5. Soldier. That still looks like a 5. Whatever. Soldier? Yeah, that's close enough. Or Soldier. So Soldier has like these 3 positions he wants. He can also be up here. He just has to be more careful. So Soldier has high ground possibilities, or he is sticking down with Zen, depending on whether you're running against dive or more like death ball-y comp. Junkrat's holding the right side. Mercy's able to pocket both of them while staying out of line of sight. Zenyatta has good spam lines, and Ryan and Zarya have good passive retreat while also building charge for the Zarya.
Where does
So that's how this composition is supposed to be played on this defense. Okay.
Sorry, if you want to go high ground or like start on high ground.
Attackers
give me an
incoming
out.
in 30 seconds.
Yeah, soldier, why don't you post high ground?
Should I go up there too, or does
Well, if they have a widow, then that's
Oh, good point. Good point.
Yeah,
So
but you can-
if they have a widow, you're going to be pushed off of this for sure, and you can't hold here either. But you can hold this in line of sight by hugging like this side, which gives you access to like this like back half a point as they come in. Which will also let you do is if she ever rotates like up here, you can push into here and fight her. You don't really want the Zenyatta up there, in that he's unable to assist down here too much, and he really wants to be in back pocket. But like the Widow doesn't necessarily deny you the high ground.
Jump down.
You just have
like,
to
it'll
play
take you longer,
more
it'll
cautiously.
take you a shorter time to jump down
I'd be
than to
patching
get
you
back up.
as usual.
Yeah.
Should I go with or?
Up to you.
See what they have.
I do think the
Like,
Zenyatta
your
can
headouts.
play
I would just hang out like
this pocket area 2 by hotel. He runs the risk of being really vulnerable to Tracer, however. So if Tracer blinks around statue and comes in, I don't know what to call this. I don't want to call it hotel because I call the other one hotel. Bookstore's back there. I don't know. Whatever area this is, Mega. If she comes through left Mega here, then she can easily duel the Zenyatta, and the Zenyatta doesn't have a good retreat path, except for retreating back across this open space and back a point, which puts him highly vulnerable to any of the Tracer's teammates as he makes that transition. So I don't necessarily like that. It'd be better if the entire tank lineup was playing here, or like they were somehow for some reason playing high ground, but that has its own vulnerabilities.
in that cubby hole if you're nervous.
Yeah.
Attackers in
Back here by Arch is just like the way to play.
defend
So we're pocketing, but we're positioning ourselves as Mercy in such a way that we can't help people behind us. We should take a bit more advantage of this beam as
Gee,
people approach.
Let's get you back
they're
on the
running
track.
down.
Ara?
Yeah, they are running dive.
But our position is better now. We don't need to be healing him right now. We can wait till later. And there's the reason why we need to be on.
They're coming through hotel.
Ara?
We're forced to fall back. Seems reasonable. And now our Zenyatta positioning is betraying us because he's unable to assist us. So that's on him for the most part. In this case, there's nowhere for us to really go. We'd like to avoid the fire by going into hotel and grabbing the health pack there, but their tanks have already moved in here. Fortunately, that's a terrible position for their tanks. So if they're unable to get value there, they're at least going to like get fucked by the Junkrat. This bubble on the Junkrat is also not as good as one on here.
Yeah, hotel.
Mercy, Discord Mercy. Mercy slow, Mercy 1. Nice.
Yeah, that's
We're down
unfortunate for
Mercy.
us.
Is down as
Play
well.
safe.
Hey, heals.
Winston.
Lucio,
Half on point.
Winston's one.
Genji
I'm
behind
low.
us.
Genji, I'm down. Fuck.
Blame your Zenyatta on that
It's
one.
alright, we got this.
Recovery.
I think we're,
Blame your Zenyatta on that one.
Yeah, alright. Can somebody
you don't
probably
have any heals though.
peek Mercy, somebody?
Yeah, peek.
Coming.
Let me get you patched
Didn't
up.
need to use that bubble.
Still, they were forced to commit for you so much that they couldn't win the fight. So, we accomplished our objective. We're going to die if we're focused, but as a support, we need to make sure that it takes them a lot of shit to do in order to actually get
Alright,
to
we're
us. So that's good.
Yep.
You needed a block.
Alright, same sort of positions. Junkrat should be set up here until they come in, spamming across. We should be healing him. Soldier's now playing on the low ground, which seems okay against dive. Yeah, seems fine.
I'm gonna have a lot of problems. Sorry.
We might consider, since they have a fire, pocketing the soldier so he's able to get good pushback damage on them. I think our objective of who to pocket changes since they're not running Death Ball. But
Yeah,
otherwise,
I think as soon as I die, I'm gonna swap.
Okay. Fine,
Score,
come back,
Genji.
come back now.
good discipline to not guard an angel to him while he was out by statue, because that would have resulted in your death.
Diva's low. Diva's low.
Monkey.
Discord monkey. Monkey's half, Discord. Pharah. I mean, Mercy half. Discord.
Damage.
So it turns out he doesn't need to drop this because you've been quick enough to heal him. And that's kind of a mistake on his part. You could communicate, "I got you, soldier," to perhaps prevent that, but mostly that's on your soldier. So far, this push has been good for you.
Diva.
Furlough.
I think there are times we could have swapped to boost quicker than
Genji on our left. Genji on
Genji's
our
on
left.
left.
Nice.
Genji.
Get.
Lucio?
cheeky.
Lucius discarded.
I think he's...
Diva's in the
Yeah,
hot
Diva's
alleyway.
on, like,
She's out,
high
she's
ground.
Discord. She's out. Yeah.
Is someone on the stairs?
Alright, reset to beginning positions.
Oh, we don't need that anymore. Oh,
Damage boost engaged.
it's so good.
Let me get you patched up.
Is
Kara?
Yeah, the fair coming around, your choice is likely to move kind of into this area. So you can use the hotel building as line of sight as she comes around. And move perhaps into hotel and grab the mini when properly pressured. Or you can use archway.
I think it is.
Either's good.
Play back a little bagel.
Discord Genji.
Healing stream engaged.
Good quick
Yeah, I've
reaction
got like
to
no
damage.
charge this round. Yes, there's
Even
I love the Valkyrie here when they finally commit to this. This is fantastic.
low.
Sure.
Diva's super low.
honor.
I think there is an issue though that we've lost track of our beams. We are currently damage boosting someone way in the back, and I think we do that like for a bit.
Nice job, nice
Yeah,
job.
that's bad.
Super. Yeah, I've got like no charge
So,
this
like-
round.
Is there? Can I change playback speed? I can. Let's do half. Let's turn the volume off in case it's slow. Just watch this. So they jump in. We Valk. Fantastic. We're healing him. We're healing him. But due to his positioning, we're no longer spreading our healing out to the rest of the team, and that's an issue. If we had instead switched our healing beam here, we're going to heal at least one. I don't think we get this, but we're likely to also get this. We might actually get this as well. So we could maximize our ult usage here, and then we end up damage boosting, swapping to damage boost. And so no one is benefiting from our ult for like a couple seconds outside of the damage boost here. So I don't mind swapping to damage boost in this situation, considering we have this giant zone of healing here, and we can probably react quick enough, but like we could be doing more by damage boosting the man right in front of us or boat mode, and that would extend to everyone, you know? So a little bit of mismanagement here. We correct it here, seems fine. We damage boost them upon return, seems good. Should really be stopping healings now that the fight's over so that we can gain more ult charge later.
Lucio.
Emeralds. Push up though.
Which is what we do. Cool. Quick reaction.
Where does it hurt?
Quick enough
Okay, back up.
reaction.
Back in the corner.
There we go.
We spent some time with like healing beam on people who aren't injured when we could be damage boosting other people, but it's preventative
When I have
and
that
it won't
charge, I
matter.
just about have grabs, so I'll probably
what
grab
ults,
this.
What ults do they...
Alright, we only damage boosted 175 because of our like mismanagement of our beam. Not a terribly large amount. Our assists both rounds? Yeah, I feel like this is really low. Having 14, I can't quite read how many minutes it's been. We have 14 assists right now. Not a huge deal. No one's really died, so the resurrected stat
They have
hasn't come into play.
Barrage?
Blade.
Yeah,
Barrage
and
and
Winston.
Blade? Okay.
I might save for
Alright,
grab.
Alright, they're beating in. The goal right now is just to kind of line of sight them during this and not really engage, by perhaps collapsing back and then recontesting after it's down.
They're opening with beat. Monkey on me, back line.
Yep, on monkey.
Yeah,
on
my
monkey.
circle.
We could have helped our team a bit more here, but I don't think it's gonna matter.
Oh, fuck. Oh.
Fuck. Alright.
All the ults. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Fucking you.
Yeah, we don't actually want this res to go off.
So did they use
Use
everything?
They use
everything.
everything.
They didn't use the bomb.
They used Pete and Carol. What else did they use?
Blade and
Blade.
They use Blade
Did
and
they use
Pharaoh.
Monkey?
Yeah.
Oh, they did use. Yeah, they did use Monkey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got grab. Let's hold close. Hold close. I'm gonna grab.
Okay. Don't,
I
be,
can
don't
heal
go
it.
too far ahead. Don't go too far ahead.
Discord far.
Guys, hold right up close here. Everybody should be moving up.
We can't.
We aren't even looking at the source of that damage, which means it's harder to dodge.
There's a Pharah
I'm
in the
gonna
way.
grab here in a sec.
Discord far. Nice.
Good pocketing of him during that.
Nope, she ate it. Fuck. I tried to get it against the wall. It's my bad.
Mercy's in here alone. Discord. Mercy's
Yep,
coming out on the hallway.
You like pistoling.
Can we chase that Mercy? No, she's out.
Pistoling away too long.
No.
Just fight right here. We don't want them to move past here.
So what you can do is leave the beam on someone and then like look to prevent the flanks. There's no reason why Mercy can't be the one doing that because she requires very little in terms of mechanics to constantly heal someone. Your Zenyatta can also watch out for the flank. Generally, I guess the Junkrat watches the high ground here.
If we all die and get wiped, that's fine. We can recontest before B.
We're also not really using cover up until now. We were just kind of standing in the middle of arch, and that's not going to danger us here, but it may in the future.
But don't back up. Just die here.
And if we, yeah, I was gonna say if we die, we really need to die.
Far behind.
Monkey, monkey, monkey.
Yeah, there's the far positioning that we weren't watching out for. That our positioning kind of like in the middle here was not giving us a good line of retreat. If we had instead been healing from like this doorway, we would have been angled to see them coming from that way, and also had a path of retreat through bookstore to this mini, and just generally line of sighting them with these walls.
Where's Fair? Oh, on monkey, on monkey, on monkey.
That can happen. Long point.
I'm back, Bagel.
How do we use?
Nice.
We're not even paying attention to where the far is, which is like up here. Let's redraw that. Like up here.
I'll take. Mercy, mercy.
Far, far.
Got her, got her.
Nice.
Emeralds.
We're even.
Diva, diva, diva.
Eva's low.
On Genji, Genji, Genji.
All right, back up a little bit.
Like that's a window you can very much watch and call out for. You are generally, along with the Zenyatta and the soldier, the furthest person from like the point of contact in the fight, so that you have the widest like range of vision. So you need to be communicative with the angles on flanks and reacting better and at least scouting where those people are coming from.
This is
The Farah's
Genji,
got
Genji,
you
on
twice
point.
now.
Yeah, I'm on him.
Farah's
There's one.
got you twice
Nice.
now.
Nice.
I'll say it since now I've turned the volume down. The Pharaoh's gotten you twice now from that.
Yeah, I've got
It
full
hasn't
charge
mattered
on
here.
it,
It
so
will
they're
matter against Hanzo.
going top, it looks like.
I'm coming back with Valk.
Diva, 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 diva,
Minor thing, team can look to pick you up here.
diva.
I didn't get.
Mercy's
this
left.
on that.
Whoa,
Discord, Diva, Diva,
Hanzo,
Diva,
Hanzo
Diva,
behind
Diva.
that.
Hanzo.
Monkey jumping me. Monkey jumping me.
Good switch to heals to pocket him. We're in danger here. Our only recourse right now is to Guardian Angel in. It kind of sucks that like our Junkrat is split from us too.
I don't have trans.
Yeah, we're a little late to Guardian Angel in. He gets two
Behind us.
swipes in.
Oh, I went the wrong way. You guys no healers?
Okay, just die here.
Yeah, we could have reacted to that. I don't know if it would have made a difference. It probably wouldn't have. We'd end up getting caught in the
Here,
trap.
die here. I'm gonna switch
Die.
to
No.
Die here, absolutely get out.
Let's,
We're holding too far forward, I think.
In what respect are we holding too far forward? It's like we're correct to take a fight there on the corner because you generally hold positions with shield tanks on corners because it provides you the best lines of sight with also the most cover. It's just that they got an early pick with Scatter Arrow on I think your anchor DPS here as soldier on the flank. Scatter Arrow is bullshit, and he could have played it better for sure, but he walked himself into it. And then they used a Graviton and a Blade. Like, playing further back just gives them more space. By holding that up where you honestly should have, they don't get as much payload progress during that, because you have at least contested the card a little bit. Now I think in the third person view we see that the payload is even further up, so that they actually got a decent amount of push during that as well. But like, at least you contested for a brief bit.
No, that hold was correct, because then we get another fight.
Yeah, I think we get to recontest before they get to, as long as nobody.
Like the Hanzo shouldn't be a surprise whatsoever. Maybe his positioning, maybe if he's on some dumb flank. But like knowing that they have a Hanzo should happen as soon as basically they switch. Press tab more often.
Yeah, but like
getting
then
close.
Hanzo, like not like we're holding too far ahead, but like we need to watch the flanks if we're gonna stand there.
Yeah, that was kind of how that fell apart. Like,
Yep,
get jumped
that's fine.
over. All right.
We can contest this.
Alright, if we're gonna hold this, we likely need to pop Valk here, now that we're down a person, to make up for it. We're in the bad situation where, like, our team kind of needs the heals, and we also need this res. So I would probably tell team, play safe, I'm rezzing. I'm gonna res into Valk. Something like that. So they know not to go so aggressive, because they won't have your heals. Yeah. Oh, we had trance and we tranced late. That's
Fuck! I didn't keep you in back.
It's fine.
And we're layering these ults, which is super fucking awkward too. I don't know if we needed to blow both of these right away. I realize the Genji is kind of on us, and that makes us more likely to want to just kind of get the fuck away from it. But blowing both of these ults after losing mech, after losing a person, is probably what loses us this.
No worries. I'm on Winston.
We can blow so many ults from here. Our beam isn't spidering to enough people because we're leaving it on.
Genji's low.
Like, why aren't we healing him? Why aren't we healing him?
Left side.
On Diva, on Diva, on Diva. On
That's
Diva.
so delayed.
I got mech back. It's contest.
Once again, we're not healing as many people as we could because we're just leaving it on one person.
Diva
Lucio
maxed
back
out.
line. Lucio back line. Behind.
Mercy, don't let her rest. Just one, nice.
She already used res.
Went
Yeah, we're
past
good.
us, jumped off.
Where's the
It's on Hanzo.
Top left, Hanzo.
Yeah. I'm on him as soon as. There we go. Nice.
They have one fight.
Oh, nice job.
What do they?
Now we have 20 defensive assists, so it seems like we're actually able to heal people who are in the middle of a fight. Now that we're off dive, seems good. Double the number of people
What ult do
resurrected.
they have?
Way more damage amplified.
So they
Looking
might
better.
have Dragon.
No, they
probably-
use it.
Did they? Okay.
We only have 1100 healing, though. In this sort of brawl, we could be having like 12 or 13 or 14 maybe, if we had managed our ult spidering better.
Okay,
they
he
use
switched
Soldier?
to Tracer anyway. They're
Yeah.
gonna have
They
I
might have
think
backup.
0 blaster kills, how dare you.
they might have Vincent ult. Try to save, like try to ult him, Ryan.
They don't have drop beat.
So I would wait for Winston to bubble and then break bubble.
Smart monkey.
Listen,
Smart
listen.
monkey.
On Winston, on Winston.
Monkey low. Nice.
Well, Bagel's taking some damage. I think you're supposed to let the Junkrat go to make sure your main tank
Mercy
goes
if you can.
Shatter's free, so whenever you feel like it.
Ooh, whoever's being pressured by that Tracer needs help.
Tracer.
Oh, Rondo. That's a shame. Rondo's going to drop here because he dropped out of your line of sight.
Tracer low.
That's a bad place for him to do that. You should... She is rezzing. I still probably wouldn't pistol her.
Fuck.
Mercy,
Rest monkey.
Okay, I really wouldn't pistol your entire clip you're actually throwing. Yeah, that's... okay.
Ooh, that sucks.
You would have ample time to react to that too.
Tracer low.
Fuck.
Mercy,
Rest
Like, you could stand behind here.
monkey.
Yeah, you just... yeah, that opening's just further behind you.
Ooh, that sucks.
No, that was my bad.
Damn it.
No, that's fine. Just die on point, die on point.
Yeah.
I mean, we gotta freaking lose though. They get point.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We should have reset the game, but that's okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the takeaways from that game, we don't use our Valkyrie very well. We had good times to use Valkyrie, which we capitalized on. I'll agree there. But once the Valkyrie has been, once we're in the duration, we don't optimize our beam target. Generally, we're on the correct beam for the most part. Like, we heal when we want to heal, and we damage boost when we want to be aggressive, and sometimes the team can't take advantage of that. But the central person we're actually attached to, who we're supposed to like spider out to the rest of them, is largely needs work. We have some issues of like where we're supposed to be positioning and whether we're supposed to be damage boosting or healing, but generally it was okay. I think we weren't getting as much value out of the Mercy as we could have. That kind of makes me wonder if we couldn't have picked a different main healer. Because we didn't take advantage of the Valkyrie too often, and we didn't take advantage of like the Resurrect too often.
That's alright.
Like four Resurrects here means that like we weren't like it didn't really matter. I think one or two at times it was like kind of not to give us an advantage.
Are you guys playing that way
now? Because I know you guys weren't before. So.
We weren't before, but we should be, so we... Lyra?
So we have an almost fantastic composition here, except for the Lucio. Lucio would be good if they rush us, otherwise we don't really care. We'd rather be a Zenyatta. We are looking to play in the far back by the mini, which is left of point from our perspective. We can also look to play the high ground above that. We are going to generally be untouchable unless a Tracer or Sombra goes on a long fucking flank, in which case we can just like rotate away from it. We have a very commanding position here on both first and second point, and we are definitely in a good carry position. So what I'm looking for in general is Nano, generally on one of these three, either the Soldier or the Hog during his ultimate, or the Diva if neither of them have ultimate, but we're generally saving it for one of those two. Huge anti-nades, huge sleeps. Cooldown management and accuracy are super important on Ana as well as positioning, but the positioning should be relatively easy on this map considering its long sightlines. So, there's no like nuanced positioning here. And it's really going to come down to cooldown management and accuracy.
Lucio works, I got self-heal. And there's a lot of healing.
Okay, fine.
Do Lucio.
Gets anti-Ana's grenade. I think it's decent.
Fucking commercials. My dude. Fucking commercials. This is why I don't like watching it from Twitch. The controls are more awkward, and every so often I just get an advertisement for 30 seconds. If you can upload them to YouTube, I am so much more happy to review. I really feel more comfortable on Ana too, so I'm gonna judge this one a little bit harder.
Quad tank natives really good. If I can hit it.
So like, I understand that like quad tank is a concern. Your composition is quite good against quad tank as is. I know you have a Soldier. I don't remember if you have a Junkrat. The Soldier's whatever. You'd prefer the McCree, both for his stun and higher burst damage, to detract from the healing. But your composition is fine against quad tank, and quad tank shouldn't be as much of a concern because it's fallen out of the meta because Junkrat just builds pretty much every fight, and they don't have any way of actually dealing with that. Who is your other? Oh, you're running Diva. That's right.
Do you record your gameplay?
Yeah, I'm recording right now.
Okay. Sweet. I'm gonna go with either Bagel or Boat then. Boat, you don't record?
No, I used to, but once I got a 144 hertz.
I think they might have a Bastion.
Alright, initial positioning is good. I think we're drifting a little bit too much to the right of point, and when we do that, we line of sight our person in the window here. Or if we drift too far this way, then we're line of sighting our team here. So if we just stop doing this and just stay back here in pocket, we have a good retreat path, and we can even poke down this sight line on approach to build ult as fast as possible.
What the fuck? Tracy's around the right.
Tracy's right. Top.
We're wasting some ammo healing people who are in no danger of dying. we've now wasted 40% of our clip doing nothing. It's not that significant right now. If they happen to rush us, however, that's 40% less healing we have. And Anna's reload is hugely detrimental to her.
Yeah, they have a bastion. Play corner, play corner, play corner.
Our positioning here is kind of in the open. So I notice we come closer and start holding here at like the gate here. The gate here is also a good position for Anna, but like the entire team needs to know you're there. So I notice the soldier's still back here, along with I think you're Lucio. In which case you will be unable to heal them and they're kind of on their own. But yeah, Anna's perfectly serviceable being back here. If you'd been back on the crosswalk, it's fine. It seems like you weren't considering the retreat as a safety option. So shifting up this way towards the gate wasn't a safety option. It was to help you aim. And that sort of crutch I dislike.
Got the bastion, got the bastion.
Okay, we're really close to this fight here when we have no real need to be. I noticed that during this aiming sequence, we're more aiming with like our A and D keys. So instead of using our arm to move our crosshair, we're using our movement to assist, which is a bad habit that you will eventually need to break. It probably doesn't matter at this elo, but that nade was useless. So watch this again. We move up.
Right.
Let me actually start from here. Let's turn the sound down. Let's do speed to quarter. Yeah, let's just mute this. So we line aside half our team here after wasting a bunch of bullets because no one has taken damage yet. Finally someone takes damage, we get some healing in. Cool. We end up line of sighting him because he shifts to the right for some fucking reason. Don't know why he's doing that. He's leaving both natural cover and the shield and his healer's line of sight. But we could be shifting further. We could have already been shifted further left to make that less egregious by him. We're healing people who are in no danger right now. Seems fine, seems fine. I don't know why boat mode's up there. What are you doing up there, boat mode? No clue. If they were running dive, he's risking your life in particular. Our unscope, oof, our unscope shot goes fucking wide. All right, so how many of our first 10 shots actually healed someone at all? Like 2 of them? Watch this shot. It's just into the wall. Bop. So if we press tab now, I'd be surprised if we had over 200 healing. So yeah, we're moving up to like assist this. And then we're aiming more with wads than anything else. Grapes being aggressive. Seems fine. We move really close. Like we could have easily just done that sleep dart from back in the pocket position by the mini. As they came in, we don't have a good angle here. We're gonna toss our nade. We do. Nade's fine. Seems good, although I dislike how close we are in general. And then we're back to just kind of shooting. And we reloaded during this time, which means we're unable to assist him here. And because we used both of our cooldowns in a lackadaisical manner when it didn't matter so much, we have nothing to save him. So like the sleep dart didn't matter because we already hooked someone, and they're immediately going to get woken up. The nade, I liked the attempt because if it had landed and purpled anyone important, it would have been fantastic. But it ended up being blocked by one of our teammates' bodies, so that it was only an AoE heal for the armor, which is good if people are in danger and that burst healing is necessary, but that wasn't the case there. We weren't taking enough damage. So we don't have either cooldown here to keep him in mech. Can we keep him in mech though? Seem to be able to. If that diva was... Okay, so
Oh, I died.
end up reloading.
Where's Tracer?
That sleep was bad.
You guys can run
Low
it
chance
off
of
and
success.
then over them.
What's in your bag?
Give me Diva.
I think more is still. Oh,
Alright. So our team walked in here, which really forces us to go in here, which sucks. We linger way too out in front of him. We deserve to die for that.
Crap, you got full.
We were really aggressive there.
I'm coming back. I died to
Our positioning has resorted to like... We're now in the position where like we can't utilize either of our utility abilities. Except in like a really defensive manner if they're rushing us. But they're running Bastion, so they're looking to slowly whittle us down. We're playing at a range that like Moira or Mercy would be just as, if not more effective. And not concerned about aiming. Yeah, we're just spamming ults here.
nice.
We're just spamming heals. There's another 20-30% of the clip wasted on someone who's not taking any damage. You can stop pressing left click.
Sorry, where you at with ult?
They're going up
Going
top.
all the way around that way.
Yeah, they're going around.
Go, meet him at the point.
Alright.
Don't
I'm
chase
gonna
him.
nanovisor.
This is a good rotation. I think as they rotated, we could have tried for a sleep dart. We didn't even consider it, which would also change this fight in the same way a halt or a hook would render their approach fucking useless.
Tracer's
Yeah,
up
come
on
here.
We're just shooting kind of randomly.
Come on.
Good nade in theory, but team wouldn't have been able to follow up on it with this composition, I think. I don't mind you looking for it, but both its execution and turns out compositional wise, it's poor. Good nano. Okay, turns out the visor was bad. I forgot they haven't dropped from here. Yeah, no good. So we wasted 2 ults for their 1. Which kinda sucks.
Give him back low.
He doesn't need pocketing.
Tracer on point.
There's no reason why we can't be scoping from like a safe distance back here. By the mini still. We're following him around, but who the fuck cares? He's just out of position. Don't put yourself out of position to help someone. Nade was again bad. He's charging. He can be
Tracer
slept.
dead.
Good.
Mercy low.
Bongo.
Ooh, and by the time we return to the fight's over.
Nice. Okay, Mercy's down. Alright, I'm gonna go get
It's the first time we've scoped in a while. I'm interested for us to press tab. Press tab, press tab, press tab, press tab.
Lucio went back to get Ursa.
That's you.
Oh yeah, that's me. I was like, who's
So you, like, I know I want you to press tab because I want to see your stats, but it's really important during this downtime for you to press tab to make sure that you recognize their compositional changes as soon as possible. And so you guys can communicate ultimates. And right now you have no idea what ultimates you have, let alone their team's composition.
Coming in.
Right now our positioning is kind of like whatever. It's
Drop
unlikely. It's unlikely to get punished, but it's not good. We're not taking full advantage of the sightlines on this map.
Tracer going top right.
Good nade. If team could follow up on that, it'd be a great nade.
They're doing it again.
Shield's down.
Grape is feeding ult charge out of his mind though.
Come back. Grab.
They switched to triple thing.
Fine, get the fine. Rotating.
Get the point,
Yeah,
get the point.
rotate, rotate.
You're taking the aggressive way. I definitely would have gone back towards the mini. Unlikely to anything to come of it though.
That's shield planet.
We're still a little close. We see the tracer blink. We heard the tracer blink. We're not going to react to that? I mean, there she is. Doo-doo-doo. There's no reaction from us. We're playing, like... There's only one person in front of us from our team. We're playing really aggressive for some reason. I don't like this whatsoever. Should result in some sort of death. Especially against a dive comp, which I recognize they don't have. But like, this is just poor general habit. There's no reason for us to be this close. That nade was unlikely to work.
I'm stuck.
God damn it. I
Tracer behind
moved
us.
out of the way.
The Jew.
Fuck.
If you were back here with your soldier, you could have seen him coming the entire way. By moving so far forward, your line of sight was like shit. You didn't have a good grasp of your flanks, and
I'm
that's
Warrior
fatal.
Mercy behind, backside of point.
Alright, your team's not going to win this, just regroup.
Stall as long as you can.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
stalling.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know.
Alright, we finally pressed tab. Now we can see what they have. You are no longer near visor, so we might be looking to combo Nano with Whole Hog to defend against their next push. You should use this time to communicate what ults they used. So I know they used this and this. You need to know the status of this, absolutely, and you probably need to know the status of this. You'll find out the status of Mercy ult pretty quickly, I think. And it's not really as much of a concern. And Whole Hog's not so much, but like the Shatter team needs to be able to play around that.
I got beat a second time at least, right before I died.
Yeah, they're also running
Alright.
triple tank.
Alright, so let's talk about our shit right now. We have this much healing. It's the last 24 seconds of the round, so in like 3 minutes, 30 seconds, or about 4 minutes, we have like 500 healing done a minute, which is not good. Our scoped accuracy and unscoped accuracy could use a lot of work. A lot of this is inflated because we spent a lot of time shooting targets that were both stationary and in no danger. So this is a little bit misleading. Our like scoped accuracy and unscoped accuracy on people who are actually damaged is really low. If that makes sense. So like this is inflated, and you can see its result here is that we have low healing done. We've only died once. We have 2 eliminations, but we only have 6 defensive assists. And that's kind of weak. We have no nano boost assists, which is a mistake as well. Which isn't going to matter too much.
Should I stay hog? Should I switch?
They're gonna have a free shatter.
Yeah, they're going to have a free shatter. So our positioning is errant. If our team is looking to play up here, we have the option of either playing up there with them, which I don't necessarily like, or playing this back right corner and having the sightline here and dictate over point, which I think I prefer.
We don't really have a shield. Try to not.
They're all coming top.
Yeah.
So we're late to be up here. And with our dive tanks, they're likely to just fucking leave us up here. So if their tanks rush us and our tanks decide that they don't want to be here anymore, we're just kind of trapped in this hallway. And if we're running dive defense, being in the back right corner gives us good sightlines, good retreat path, and is much preferred to this. I'd probably play up here if we were running like Deathball versus Deathball though. We're also just kind of in the middle here.
They're coming up.
What is this aiming? That nade was not gonna work.
They're on the point.
Good sleep, I suppose. I think it's more the Tracer's lack of attention to it than your necessary aim.
Way down the point.
And this is where our position betrays us. Oh, we actually get there. And then we immediately, like, we were almost punished for our poor positioning. We save ourselves in like the last half second, and then we immediately return to our bad positioning. You have like 3 members contesting the point who are not going to die so long as we stay up. There's no reason for us to be here.
Get in there.
They were also down like their major DPS. I don't think we needed to use ults here.
Purple, Bug's purple. What's Ryan behind us?
Run low.
Ryan low.
Hold on, Mercy.
We make absolutely no attempt here to like salvage our positioning.
Down one. I'm gonna look.
Oh well, we get to be aggressive here now that we're like significantly ahead.
Mercy's one.
Mercy low.
Good nade, I suppose.
You're done too.
You're alone.
Anyone
Good
can push?
sightlines here. So now that we're in cleanup phase, we can look to generate our ultimate by pushing like top and using the sightlines here from the catwalk or the upper left to get in poke damage before eventually retreating to back left and right. That's what I would look to do. Because we can get this
There you
nano
go,
up like
back
every
there. We should
fight
back out a
if we
little
could. Good,
You guys
good
want
job
me to say
pressing
Lucio or
tab.
switch off?
I
guys
think
wanna hold?
Lucio. I don't know. I feel like it's.
Zenyatta's way better here. If you have Zen back left and you back right, then like you guys can pocket each other and you have great sightlines on this map.
Working?
I mean, I agree, but could something work better?
They now have soldier and
I don't have beat, so it'd be good
See how much our unscoped accuracy dropped?
time. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. They have a
Do we
Reaper,
want
so
Zen?
I don't
Do we want
think
Zen
so.
instead?
I mean, you could go
Question.
Zen, but they don't have Hog anymore.
Watching your
Yeah, we need to stay scoped here. Good nade, turns out. Why are we moving closer though? We have no reason to move in here. Honestly, we're losing sightlines on our upground people to contribute to people that like have committed themselves in a dumbass fight.
The purple up there.
Yeah.
And once those people save themselves, we're now in a bad
We
position.
got the soldier.
Just leave him alone, he's not your problem.
Right low.
Right low.
Rondo's
Right
in
down,
danger.
that's 2. Push up.
Jumping up.
That nade was a little off, but could have been really good.
Eagle, I can't see you. Thank you.
Going up and around behind them.
Where's that diva?
Nice.
Nice.
Why are we not
Alright,
healing?
let's get back.
Blue with the needle.
Oh, we're down one.
Back.
Soldier, 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 soldier.
Alright, back up, back up.
Soldier,
Oh, why are
one,
we...
you can kill him.
nano boost.
Oh, that's we could have killed him. We decided to throw a random nade that had such a distance to travel. If we just stay scoped and landed one more shot, he was dead.
Going for the Mega.
Couldn't get him.
Oh well. We have our ultimate. Don't know who we're supposed to use it on just yet.
They're going up top again.
They might have
We returned to good positioning. We're going to use it on Soldier. So Soldier, you should communicate this with Soldier that you're looking to nano visor next fight.
Soldier's probably
They're
about
coming up left.
3/4.
Go. I'll keep you healed.
Soldier.
So
No need to ult anything now.
they're coming up.
I'm behind him.
They got res.
Die deep.
Soldier
Good nade.
res.
I don't know if I would have stopped healing to toss that nade necessarily, but good nade.
Watch Reaper.
Get up with Diva.
Jumping.
Yeah, we spent some downtime tossing this nade when I don't think we need to.
Healing in
If he loses mech because of it,
Mine's
that's
out
our
of position.
fault.
Nice.
Pushing.
Seems fine. Yeah, that's good. Happy with that.
Alright, I'm backing up.
Yeah, that's a hard shot to hit.
Support.
Nice hook.
That was fat,
We should we're in no danger here. Just let him heal because we already have our ultimate,
dude.
and I don't think he has his.
Alright, back up, back up, back up. They're coming in.
Take your medicine.
I got speed, let's go.
Alright. What are we using, guys?
I beat.
I'm.
You could nano Winston, but like he's gonna survive long enough anyway. I might just nano. I might consider nano Diva because she can bully pretty hard. But honestly, nanoing Soldier or Hog could also shred this team.
I'm gonna
I'd like to
nano
save it.
Did
Wrap,
they use
I
anything
guess?
up right?
Oh, oops.
We use
Watching
Visor.
your back.
Again.
Okay.
I have nano.
We get a lot of free accuracy points here.
Going to
Top
be
right.
okay.
Or
Stop.
We can't hit a person moving though. There we go. Yeah, misplaced nade. Ooh, that beat is awkward in that everyone dropped down, so they can't take advantage of it.
30 seconds remaining.
It's fucking awkward.
You're powered up. Get in
Oh,
there.
shit.
That's also random. Don't know what that was communicated. He seems fine. That bagel is not fine though. Okay. Well, you let bagel die.
Seconds remaining. You're powered up. Get in.
So Sari's probably in no danger.
Oh, shit.
Like, your tanks fucking need you.
Call targets.
Dead.
Alright, that one's our fault.
Come down, come down.
Soldier out a little bit.
Fuck you. Trying to listen to shit. Okay. Oh, I missed the actual thing.
D.Va.
Alright, so we're line of sighting things. Cool, cool.
Soldier out a little bit. Closing it out.
I will
Baby D.Va.
Lost track of that. Alright, we're nowhere near Nano. Ana doesn't matter too much. Maybe Moira's better here. Unless you think the anti-nade is gonna... Anti and Sleeper can both turn a staggered fight for sure. I don't know if it's better than Moira. So consider swapping here if you're not confident in yourself. Oh, that's so late. He needed this nade like back here.
Reaper.
That's our fault.
4 3/4.
Why are we on
How did
point?
that hit me?
Like here, he needs this nade. You already need to be like healing him. Said you let him line of sight you.
Reaper.
We get one shot into him.
Reaper.
Maybe we can sleep this. We try, we miss. That would have turned the fight as well. Our positioning is unnecessary because we already have one on point.
4 3/4.
How did that hit me?
Correct our positioning.
Wow.
Correct our positioning. Oh, we're gonna die to that. Yeah, that's our fault. We use Fade there, which is a little bit awkward. We're really just looking to like stall them and regroup. I would absolutely not use Damage Orb here. That's a huge mistake. We're gonna have to stall on point. Ideally, we cast a Healing Orb and then like fade into it, so it hits us when we're further down the line taking damage. We need to save Fade to actually contest on point, not to just get out there faster. We have plenty of time before they actually cap. We can spend a little bit of it regrouping and planning how to get back on and off. So I'd probably contest as long as possible with Healing Orb and then fade to the mini and then use that time to hopefully enough of our team has regrouped that we can heal them and actually like slowly start to chip away at this. Fortunately, we don't do that.
Oh, their soldiers just fucking tearing us up.
It's unlikely to work, but we're not even like trying. The damage orb isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, it's gone.
There we go, fading again.
Yeah, I could try to get to him, but I feel like
There's the healing orb.
trying to contest him.
Yeah, okay. So that's not great on our part.
You know, damned if you do.
I think we stayed up at the top for too long.
Well, your tanks were there peeking your edge because you were supposed to heal them. I think we just mismanaged a bunch of ults. We had, if I recall, Diva Bomb, we had Winston ult, we had Nano, and we had a Beat Drop. And they overcame all of those with, like, an eventual Visor. So, like, I think we just played that poorly as fuck, from my perspective. We were in good position to win, but, like, yeah, just... Yeah.
Like they had gotten past you guys, so we needed to be more together there.
Yeah.
Like if the Reinhardt's on that hallway there, like there's no reason for the soldier to even care about him. And you failed to triage correctly that the tanks up top were what needed to stay alive rather than the soldier being overhealed so he couldn't damage a Rein shield, you know?
You guys also completely stopped calling targets or tracking ults for the last like minute of the game.
Yeah.
Is he? Yeah, maybe. He didn't really have a reason to be down
I
there.
choked on the hook at the end.
You know that Sari's a good.
We're in a tactic
All right.
build ult and push because you can't.
Do you wanna run?
Do we want to?
So it,
Alright, this comp is awkward as fuck. these 5 are going to be going in, and you're largely going to be sacrificial. Your job is to stay out of the fight and keep yourself safe for as long as possible, contributing both your damage and healing orbs, or discord and healing orbs on targets. Your damage is going to be mostly negligible here, so long as you stay alive. Because you don't have anyone to peel for you. The Reaper can't stay with you and be useful on the front line, and you can't be on the front line because you're just too squishy.
Go.
I
Hard
think
dive.
we're fine. We're fine.
Yeah,
We're fine.
Genji would do better.
Yeah.
Moira or...
I would
Reaper's
say
just
it's
bad.
It's more healing.
Do.
Yeah, but it's
We're
close
just-
healing. Where's that turret?
I don't know what that. Yeah, we didn't put an orb on someone. I don't know what that.
It's running forward.
Turret behind us. Turret's down now.
So okay, I recall this push now. We spend a lot of time just kind of not doing anything. Tanks don't take space. You're kind of just caught at the choke here. So most of it isn't really going to be applicable to you. I recall they have an Orisa shield. You should be looking to spam to build Transcendence, because Transcendence is one of the ways that you can get through this setup safely. I'll bet building a decent amount of ultimates for the enemy team in doing so. So to that end, without the shield break, you shouldn't be spamming on shield, since it's never ever going to be enough. So you need to be looking at the gaps between shields. Just generally keeping your orbs on good people. You're unlikely to get a good Discord orb through both their shield and defensive positioning at this range. So there's not really much you can do as Zenyatta except hope to get a good right click and hope your tanks know how the fuck to play. But to best facilitate their play, just keep an orb on them, and hopefully call out if you get a Discord on a good target.
76 top left. Oh, my jump's down.
There's a turret on
Jumping 2.
So you let your diva get demeched, either through his own play or not healing. It's hard to say from this angle, but healing the Reaper is not a priority.
like actually jumping.
Because, like, if you don't have a Reaper, you can still push, kind of, but Diva demechs completely nullifies any chance you have until you get remixed. So this healing ornament is to be on the Reaper, or on the Winston.
Well, turret's active though.
No,
Spamming the shield does
I
nothing.
can't dive the soul because of it. Because it's shooting me.
I was on spawn.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Because you're out of line of sight. Go get the health pack first.
We deserve this.
Move the turret to the right side of the point.
That will be a constant theme, by the way.
So are we just gonna like chill in the entrance?
Well, we're down 1. I mean, we could go in 5v6.
Hang on.
I think you can actually go in 5v6. You're not looking to actually engage, but you're looking to take position. If both your tanks use mobility cooldowns to like widen their presence to the left a point, you at least force them away from their defensive setup. Have to respect the rest of you.
Yeah, I know, but what's the plan?
Good point. What is the plan?
There's no way for me to just switch.
Yeah, we've been out of mech too long. We keep getting picked like that.
You need to go get the Orisa.
Alright, so I'm gonna skip a lot of this. I don't think you need to go Orisa. I think that's even worse because you don't win the shield war at all with these current DPS. So you need to like wholesale change your comp, which is gonna put you at like a severe ultimate disadvantage, unfortunately.
I mean,
We don't get in with the turret because it's coming.
well, we haven't had a chance in 2 minutes because we've been down 1 or 2
Well,
like,
yeah,
all the
because
time.
we have that. Because that happened.
Yes, because we've been peeking when we were down.
You're still peeking when you're down.
Alright, so we're losing shield war now.
Yeah. It's just rough. Hate to see it happen. Alright. So, against their composition, what do they have issues with? Genji has an issue against builders. It's just generally known. They are inviting you to fight their entrenched position. you can have a team comp that doesn't do that. Sombra would be great here. Sombra shuts down a majority of their characters, both in the flanking aspect and having them worry about more than one angle of attack. And her EMP is fantastic for breaking fortified positions. Tracer has some issues here, which I'm not entirely thrilled with. They have very little to contest a Widow at range or a Hanzo at range, which will further force their shield to be better. I honestly think dive is the way to go here, but you're not looking to fight their positioning at the choke here. You're just looking to spread them out and slowly take over them because they really only have one way to go. Pharah also could do decently. I realize that they have a hit scan and a turret, but the turret can slowly be taken out from range, and then you can play the left side of the map above the mega there, above either mega there, and force their shield to be positioned poorly for people at the choke. So.
Alright, dudes. I know you're getting frustrated, but make a plan.
Alternatively, they don't have a shit ton. They don't have the Junkrat. They don't have the Zenyatta. I don't think. No. So, like, if you were running, like, a Rhine composition with a Lucio and you just fucking charged them, the only thing you really have to worry about here is fucking Molten Core wrecking you. And once that and or Bongo is out of the way, then, like, the rush them the fuck down plan could also work. But you need to commit to either fully aggressing onto them, because they're not so great once you do. They don't have the high damage DPS that you'd like to see from that sort of anti-dive, or the support to really amplify that. Or, like, you just fucking avoid them. Just pick one.
Go dive and dive the point and I can pick.
We
Or
have
could
both
continue
support
to
ults.
lose shield work.
I'm gonna hold it for Molten Core, so...
So you don't really want to hold it for Molten Core, because he's going to use that reactively. So what you can do instead is use a defensive ult to gain positioning, watching out for Visor afterwards. I don't know. The point is, like, this point on Hanamura, this first point, is, like, good enough where, like, you probably don't have to worry too much about a Visor, because it's just bad. There's no good, like, line of sights there.
Let's go in.
Sight lines there.
I'm not sure.
We're here. Alright, we're all here.
So yeah, there's no reason to use this here. I think we touched upon it in third person VOD, but you guys could have just left at their two ultimates, just line of sight both of them, waited the 10 to 12 seconds for them both to be used up, and then reinitiated with trance if you wanted to. But you guys were opting into, like, a fucking shield war again right at the choke, which is going to put you at a major disadvantage.
Go in.
Hogging the garden here by himself.
We're also just kind of in no man's land here. Not just against the Hog, or just against this Visor, which is going to clean us up, but, like, the Hog in general could have just turned to fuck us. I like our Discord target, of course, during this. He's extremely vulnerable. Wow, we get out. Okay, we don't get out.
Drop beat.
They blow a lot of ultimates.
Nice first.
They blow a lot of ultimates for this.
Lucio 1.
Is an excellent teacher.
Nice patch pull.
Regroup, come back. Soldier, come back, you're alone. You're gonna die.
Alright, I got ult for the last push. Leave it. As we push.
30 seconds.
Okay,
You should be able to hear where he's setting up that. That's on left side of point. Left side of this choke, rather. I happen to know it's, like, just on the other side of this wall, but it easily could have been up here. You can call that out. Like, turrets on left side close.
anything left except maybe bongos?
They use
Okay, they don't have anything then.
Here.
Let's go.
Purple.
There's the turret sightline.
Or low on the right.
Coming in.
How's our orb match? Coming in. Leave it on Orisa.
Let's go.
Okay.
Purple.
Rondo ends up taking a shit ton of damage. Do we ever shift it? Yeah, we tried to. We have no orb on anything right now, which is a little problematic, but we just had it on mech, which got destroyed, which returns it, and we just had it on a discorded target, which died, which destroys it, so I'm not too concerned.
More low on right.
But we need to place another two.
Coming in.
Flying at point. Done. Lucio.
Soldier left.
It's Lucio. Nice.
Alright, so because they fucked up so many ultimates, or they used so many ultimates on the push before, we're going to end up breaking through here. I don't think there was anything particularly special we did, except we had a few good Discord targets which dropped pretty fast. I don't think our positioning was particularly safe. We could have literally stayed at the choke and like spammed right click across safe lines instead of being in the middle of the courtyard once again, but whatever.
They've swapped it that.
We have 6 offensive assists and 5 defensive assists. That's pretty low. But the tanks weren't doing their job of taking any sort of space and providing you good sightlines and good fights for that shit, so that's mostly on them.
Hydra.
If they're dive, you want to stay top
Where are
right.
we pushing?
Fix.
Let's take top lower.
Probably gonna have to take that soldier sightline away from them. But Junkrat here.
Super high ground.
You have no like dive DPS follow up for your tanks, which is super fucking awkward. So like all 6 of you are gonna go up through here. It's gonna stall out and it's gonna be problematic.
I hear Tracer.
There's the tracer behind.
Trying to come behind us.
Our crosshair placement here is atrocious, especially when we leave this go. We need to be flicking between the possible ways that people can come from, which are generally just where the tracer's coming from behind us, or just this doorway. So lingering in between is not helping us, because then we have to make adjustments between where our crosshair is positioned and where we need it to be. In the meantime, it's called crosshair placement. It's something that a lot of DPS need to work on to minimize the amount of movement they have to do between shots. A lot of thinking they need to do. If you can get in the habit of having your crosshair like pre-aimed on where someone's head is going to come through, that's how like Jonak ends up getting nuts right clicks across sightlines. Is he's already aimed where he knows someone's head would be if they come around that corner. Instead, we're just kind of spamming here. I realize my volume control is not so good, but I'm trying to make it so you can hear the sounds too. All right, we can just back out here during this. Instead, we commit to it. Okay. I'd consider using trance and committing here. We're up a Diva mech, and we're up a Lucio, and if anyone drops here, this push is dead. Okay, we didn't need to. That's fine. Oh, pocket him. Discord healing orb. That's fine. Discord.
I don't know why it doesn't help me with this one.
You see, like, where we're aimed the whole time was just kind of at the ground.
I don't know why it doesn't help me with this one.
Like, there's no reason why we can't charge the shot already aimed here or already aimed here. Like, that's just not good. It's unlikely to punish you here. Well, I mean, it punishes you here, but it's unlikely to matter in this context. But it is something to work on as Zenyatta that is important. Our orb is fine.
Is there a glitch where you don't see Moira's damage on Warrior, fade down.
Our aim just goes fucking wonky at these distances, so much so that we kind of drop down to compensate for it, which is not necessarily the correct play, but it's not going to hurt us very much. So we need to work on our Zenyatta aim for sure.
They have a Widow.
They dropped the Widow, and then we have a soldier on high ground. They don't look like they're going to contest, but that was like the start of things to have gone wrong for us to lose this.
Left side. Nice.
Alright, nice guys.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Do you guys play it out, or do you guys just go back to
Just gonna remind you again.
Alright, so what are we going for? We're going for some really fucking funky shit.
I'm gonna assume that you mean that they're gonna have Bastion because PQI likes to Bastion. Also,
We actually come out with this? We do.
Shazam, maybe?
Alright, so let's see. These people need to create space for us. Unlike last thing, if we sit at the doorway with these things, we're fucked. Sombra's gonna go in probably left side and then end up rotating right to the back right mini where their supports like to sit and like to use to pocket themselves. If she can get harass off there, that's fantastic. If they're running another shield comp, she should get a lot of value out of her ultimate, which she needs to build fast. Luckily, there's 2.5 minutes, so that's fine. Our Nano doesn't have the greatest of targets here. It's only really going to be used on like tanks to keep them alive. We don't have like an ultimate to combo with. And you can get damage value out of Winston, but it's kind of rough. Unfortunately, I don't know if our sightlines are good enough as the attacker to really leverage Hannah's strengths, particularly against a shield comp. So if they're likely to run the Orisa Bastion thing, we literally have to jump in front of their shield to get either nade or sleep dart off, or to even heal our tanks behind those. So I don't like the Ana pick here for those reasons. It just doesn't synergize well with anything, and the sightlines are not going to be beneficial to us. At least Zen could heal the team through that shit, like through the shield. And if you have the same sightlines that Ana requires, you can get the discords and stuff in and probably be more useful. His ultimate is also just better than Ana's and more easily applied.
yeah.
Attack commencing. Capture objective A.
But if situations permit that you get a good anti or a good sleep, you could absolutely win this match because of it. Just more of a gamble.
Everything's the same thing.
Can you see what they have?
Watch hooks this game, guys. That was like.
Oh, they haven't made it.
I don't know why that wasn't communicated. So it's been 15 seconds into this match. As soon as that happens, you can press tab and you can see their entire comp. There's no reason not to do that. No one was communicating what sort of comp they have. I noticed our Winston was in without saying what they have. Our Sombra was in without saying what they have, and no one pressed tab to communicate it. So that's a fucking issue. I don't know what this nade is supposed to do. Peeking here can get us killed. They shouldn't have Maywall, but they have Halt, and I think they had a Roadhog somewhere that could do this. Or you could be spammed down by just this Zenyatta back in the corner, if that is in fact Zenyatta. Oh, close. I'd like to think Defense Matrix bailed us out of that. We are still kind of waiting for our team to do anything.
Once we're all here.
Alright, I'm here. Yeah.
We tried to save him.
Got the man.
Dude, they're down too. Push, push, push.
You can wait for respawns, I think. I think that's easier.
We're gonna.
Because you don't have the tanks to actually follow this up. But in response to this hook, either like an anti-knight or a sleep absolutely saves your Junkrat. Ooh, he was in shield. Lucky. And it didn't hit boat mode. And now look how fucking close we're supposed to get. Can I skip this ad, please? Cool.
attacked.
So our precision came really fucking wonky to try to take advantage of anything. We're DPSing. We deserve to die. Yeah.
We shouldn't have pushed.
I mean, maybe you could have pushed, but it was executed really poorly, and they kind of took advantage of that. It started off with a hook, and then people overcommitted. Yeah.
I mean, we had respawn advantage. They were down 2.
I do agree with you, though, that pushing, considering who is down on which side, was disadvantageous.
Yeah, but we needed a tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got both.
There's no encouraged space for you, and they had both of theirs up.
You're going to live.
Yeah, we needed to kill that hog before, like,
It's really up to the Sombra and the tanks to do anything here. Your job as Ana is going to be mostly reactive to them. You like to build nano, but that's like not entirely a win condition if they have a Zenyatta. So like, I don't know. I don't know what you're specifically supposed to do on this character here, other than perhaps direct your team as to how to best break this.
Man point. Push, push, push.
Good anti. That only happens because that shield either is looking to be replaced or just somehow times out. But huge anti-nade here.
They're purple, they're purple.
Oh, if we can sleep the hog here too.
Have you?
We miss it. That's a shame. All right. So now we're perfectly safe to like stay back in this corner or back to choke and just heal him up. And we should be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. He got pushed
Oh,
further.
trigger.
Okay.
Did you have
We have one more shot.
Oh, I didn't realize it was still going or going to be. This nade is. I guess that's fine. Oh, did we die for this? No. Okay. We have nano. What's our situation? So, they probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ultimates. 2-year 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I think your main goal here. So the team should be looking to EMP, obviously, a bunch of entrenched people. If they can get this guy first, that's great. If they can only get tanks, that's cool too. I think you nano the Sombra, because she's going to be in the thick of it and needs to live. And also in a good position to focus down people that she's EMP'd. Sometime after that, as people start to get low, this is popped. And then Tyre cleans people up.
You hack the hog, like just hack him and then you can jump in.
You have like, there is no world where you can hack the hog, unfortunately. Like without EMP, in that like as soon as she comes out of stealth near him, they'll hear her, and then she has half a second during the hack animation where she's going to be damaged by something. Like are they running a Moira? I don't know. Probably their hit scan or literally anything, and then killed.
So, yeah.
Forced to retreat. So like it's not. It's more than just the half a second. It's the demeching of animation. Yeah, the Moira is just going to prevent her from doing that. It's the demeching. It's the decloaking both animation and the voice line that's preventing him from being able to do that.
Go, go, go.
Okay, we nano him defensively. Seems fine.
Oh,
Good nade. We were unable to keep him in mech. That's unfortunate.
How the fuck did you do that?
We probably could have had better sightlines going into that to maybe change that outcome, but that's mostly just on team coordination. I love our sightline here. Team needs to play on this side of the point in general to assist this, and I don't think they're aware of that.
Discord May?
We're missing shots though, and we're moving closer, and we're not able to assist our team. How did that sleep miss?
Oh, they're jumping.
Okay. So a bunch of our team dies during the Mei ult zoning them while we're in DPS mode. We're both being line of sighted, and we entered like a DPS mode and sort of like frustration. I don't know what we could have done differently. Maybe something else goes our way. Yeah.
I wasn't expecting you to point out I was like, "Did you nano there?"
Yep.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's all good.
Turns out the EMP only got like one person. I think it was like only their Orisa. Their Hog line of sighted it with like a rock, and neither of their supports were in it. You should know that they had trance. So maybe it's just more important to like manually hack the Zenyatta, kill him with the Sombra, translocate her out as like a setup, and then EMP the rest of the team. That is wholly dependent on the Zenyatta's positioning, of course, and how close his teammates are there. But if he's that close to teammates, maybe you can EMP the group of them and then dive them away from the tank lineup. But generally, just tanks we're just not taking space. So we're seeing King's Row here. Is this what we come out with? I think so. Okay. So for this composition, we're going to be mostly tied to the hip to the Pharah. We can look to peel for the Zenyatta, but he should be playing as far back as humanly fucking possible and still being able to get orbs on them. Our safety will be dependent upon how well Grape can maneuver in the air.
Hey, my finger's mostly back to normal, guys.
Nice.
Can I
Nice, dude.
smash anything you do?
Again.
Here's the.
Rondo's on
Wait.
I can try.
That's
Yeah,
loaded.
but
Alright, so there's an issue here where you like have two long range people and you can't really profitably heal them both.
I also considered that PQI is a really good widow too. So who is a better widow than PQI?
Well,
I think Rondo and Grape can also give PQI a perfectly fine run for his money in this situation. He doesn't need to win every 1v1, he just needs to outvalue him. The attack sightlines are better in general than defensive, since you like know where the defenders are likely to be, while the attackers have all these angles to set up. So it's not as clear cut as just win the widow 1v1, and it never is. It doesn't matter who wins the 1v1 as much as who is putting pressure on the map.
we need a widow
Which admittedly also often comes through the 1v1.
to contest it.
Who's looking fuck?
Alright, let's go.
You absolutely need a widow to contest an enemy widow on this map. Good positioned widows here are impossible to get on with dive tanks. You could have Winston ult and still have trouble getting on an enemy widow. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Also, if there is a widow on this map, they're very, very likely to have a mercy pocket. So like, there's no way they should be ever in range of enemy tank cooldowns for long periods of time without their hook on, without their hook available. And even if you do get them, they have 60 healing per second, and even if you kill them through that, if you don't camp that spawn in the middle of the enemy team, they're going to get rezzed. So yeah, Widow is basically the only way to contest another Widow.
Go. Potentially.
Because otherwise you have to just commit way too many resources.
They're all up there.
Alright, they're all up there.
Let me get you patched up.
Alright. So while we're here healing here, and I notice we do this a lot, we have no reason to like look at him. So we can spend this time instead worrying about like how low our Winston is or how low he is, and just making sure we have that visualized. We just don't look up.
Where are we on?
What are they running?
Right, so watch this again.
They're all up there.
So we notice the focus should be here. We have the beam on him, he's fine. We have him covered. Rondo will be healed by payload if he pushes it. He's in no danger. We should be looking up to see how our Winston is faring and seeing if we need to shift our healing to him instead. Or to the Pharah if the Pharah is being pressured. We just don't do that. We have no idea what these health pools are until Grape happens to float down into range. We have no idea how damaged our Winston is.
Where are we on?
Ends up not mattering. But that's the sort of like minor like game sense thing that like can hurt us in the long run. I'm gonna take some water.
What are they running?
They're running standard dive.
They're just giving it point.
Grape is really aggressive here.
Yep.
When we end up going in bad side lanes because of it.
Yeah, but
We get away? We do. Okay.
Monkey.
Ba-ba-ba.
Monkey.
One's murder.
So I'm not so sure if we should be on this left side of payload, because at least right side of payload provides us a mega to retreat to. But it's definitely a good idea to use these two corners, one of these two corners as cover.
Mercy one.
Yeah, got her.
So that's generally good.
Even.
Happy with that.
Out. Monkey Discord.
Lucio.
Your fire
Oh,
dies.
fuck.
Nice.
Hold on a second. Discord Monkey, he's top.
Where is
There you go.
We still
We're
need
not let's get on the cart,
Go
get
to
on the
payload.
cart. Come back.
That'll be Bomo's job.
Yeah.
Yep.
A little bit. Tracer, back here.
Generally, we are doing a good job of line of sighting enemy combatants. So we're this Mercy round is better than King's Row in that regard. There was the one time in the opening where we kind of were in front of the team before we dropped to the payload, which I really didn't like. But we weren't adequately punished for it, so it won't have a material impact here.
Top one. Don't be behind you.
Yeah, we didn't notice that.
Got the widow.
That's a bit of an issue.
Lucio.
It's gonna raise, watch out.
Lucio's
Yeah, we need to leave here.
low. Lucio low.
If we can do it by going into the air, that's fantastic.
Lucio low.
Line of sight a bunch of
Alright,
people. Cool.
alright.
Discord on him.
He's half.
I'm on him.
I remember that this attack is pretty much a roll, so I'm not gonna probably find too much to work on here.
Tracer.
Tracer.
he's out.
Nice.
Yeah, he's out.
Alright,
Push
good.
payload.
Communication is
Yep,
good.
I'm on it.
Jump,
He's not
push,
gonna.
push.
He's gonna line of sight you. Cool.
On the ship, I can't really get
Lucio.
I'm on,
Lucio.
I'm on payload.
We
Discord on
got
Lucio, get him.
Lucio.
Yes, you can.
Nope, we can't. Back up, Bagel. Back up. Get the monkey.
I think I saw you're far low in health.
I didn't get the
Our tanks are taking a shit ton of damage. But that doesn't mean we can't pay attention to people coming from ship.
Alright, didn't get wet on that.
Yeah, he took some damage. He may have grabbed a health pack. This Valk is preemptive in that their team isn't actually contesting this point heavily, and it can't naturally stay here. We don't need it to heal a whole bunch of people. The only person who's actually damaged is Winston. This should prompt a very aggressive stance by our team, and if Rondo ends up blading, which he should have soon, we should pocket him during it.
Good job.
Tracer point.
she's half Discord.
Widow down.
Nice.
Nice job on Widow.
We needed to be more aggressive here.
Keep him back.
Oh, we line of sight, so
Whoa, keep it back
we
low.
lose some time here. We end up pocketing him though. Fantastic. Okay.
On Winston.
Winston. He's Discord.
Discord Winston.
Mercy.
Don't pistol.
Mercy.
Got him.
Baby Diva.
Help your dude.
Diva.
Get the Mercy.
I don't know if we should be damage juicing here when I know these tanks are low.
Mercy. Nice.
It's on point.
Sorry, I backed off.
I just took the numbers.
But generally good management of shifting around your beam to people who are in danger.
Yeah.
Nice job, Tracer.
Good push up. Good push up.
Nice. Oof.
Kind of just walking the line when we just got discorded from behind. Could have resulted in our death, absolutely.
Now left. Send.
Send.
Oh, what a fat finger.
Fucking
At least I didn't kill myself. I almost did.
Sends down.
We'll be very close to Valk for this next fight. We're still not aware at all of our Farah's health. We're just never looking up.
No.
Have a Farah now, pharmacy.
Yep. They're running pharmacy.
Alright, grab. This is your time.
Diva.
I don't have eyes. I tagged her.
Mercy half.
They have soldier.
Alright, so bow mode should be falling back here, and I cover that in the third person VOD.
Discord Para.
Fire above.
Got her. Winston.
I like the gradual retreat. Let's come in, but you are not helping boat mode. Who ends up trancing because of it. Okay.
Nice ult.
Up on this, push up.
Damage boosting towards this, fantastic.
Still on Winston.
Mercy off. Mercy on
Yeah.
payload. Mercy on payload.
On
Discord.
Mercy.
Monkey on me.
Oh,
I'm getting Zen.
Soldier moved. I might
alright, that's our fault.
monkey on me.
I'm getting
Completely
Zen.
lose track of our boat
I might
mode
die.
here.
I'm dead. Alright.
Discard him.
Gonna res him. Dangerous res, but I think they had enough down where it's not actually.
Alright, keep going.
We should be looking to Valk.
Push, push, push.
That's next fight. Good. Okay,
Maybe Diva.
that takes too long. Our aim is not good enough for that.
Got her. Winston.
Change your
Winston on me, on
change your
point.
beam target.
Discord. Nice kill. Wow. You guys are
Change your beam targets.
Hot damn.
We're still like focused on one person who's not maximizing our shit. If we had placed it here, we get everyone. Instead, we're placing it here, so we get one. But whatever. Ultimately, a good round for the team. Ba-ba-ba.
I think so.
I'm gonna get another commercial here. I'm willing to bet. Just a second.
straight dive.
Yeah, straight dive.
Like,
Yeah, that was a
the-
quick game though.
I could try Ana, but
I think Ana would work here.
depends on it.
Sightlines are pretty good.
It's up to you.
We don't have a soldier, so it's not as...
I mean, if
You have a
if
blade.
You guys jump out properly.
Okay.
You shouldn't need it.
Quick decision. Do you guys want to do a really aggressive, like, fight on cart, die on cart, so that we can get a second defense, or do you want to play it like they did?
Cool if we do that.
Yeah. No, you know what I mean. Like, you fight on
Plan it,
cart.
fuck.
I think it here.
Okay, it's
Let's
fine.
see what they're running
It's cool.
before we decide what, like, what
Right.
is going on.
No, you really need to decide like ASAP because it changes how you play.
Decide early.
Because you're not even holding this doorway.
Diva's left side.
What are we healing now?
Discord somebody back there.
Yeah, it's all good.
They're
On
running with
on
me.
Mercy right now. Just poking.
McCray and Genji.
Okay, we need to drop to cart. I'm gonna drop to cart to hold.
I don't think they're running dive tanks. You're leaving your Zenyatta vulnerable here.
10.
On McCray.
Unfortunately, your dive tanks did not have a clean engage, so they've taken so much damage that you are like almost forced to drop.
10's one. 10's
But enemy teams should take advantage of this and kill your
one.
Zenyatta.
Nice. Mercy. I mean Genji.
The
Sorry.
Genji, Genji.
Genji's down. Winston on me. High ground. High ground. Winston.
Okay, coming.
Winston's alone up there.
Coming. Winston's one, literally
Your
one.
tanks
Literally
fucks up.
one. Tickle him.
All right. I'm
Tickle him.
walking around to high ground.
Where is he?
Where are we going?
Mercy, Mercy on the left. Nice.
Nice job.
Appeals. We got so much ult
Try and get
charge
high
from
ground
this.
again.
That's just how much damage our tanks are taking in this. We don't have to use the stairs, we could just wall climb.
That felt a little messy, but it was a
Felt
It
perfect.
was pretty messy.
Okay, I'm gonna hold cart.
Jumping. Should left. Should
Yeah, we're forced to use boop because otherwise we're in huge danger. But now we're line of sighting our entire team because you notice they dropped and then dove back to high ground, which is kind of the issue with Lucio following in on this low ground shit is that he's not gonna do anything if his tanks use their mobility.
Send.
So right now we're not healing anything. We're not in danger. We should be speeding ourselves into a position where we're actually able to contribute to the team. Instead, we don't. And this fight has progressed long enough down to where this beat doesn't help us.
Mercy up top.
This beat was poorly executed.
Mercy
Slide on
first.
cart.
Do we have? Are we holding or?
Yeah, just don't let cart move. Keep fighting on cart. Be there soon.
We get a really good stall though. Okay, so that beat should have been held, I suppose, for Blade, but now our Transcendence has that burden. He should have it by now, honestly. Yeah, bad ultimate usage. We only got 3 people. Yeah.
We can hold like
Okay,
corner.
back out.
We can retest last second
Yep.
with 5 or 6.
Yep, yep.
Don't amp out of spawn, you're gonna need it for the fight.
Got bomb too.
Wall ride out of spawn.
Alright, I'm
Go.
for Smith to ult.
We're here, we're here.
Die right away.
Push in. Push.
Now you don't have for this engage for 7 seconds. The fight could easily have been decided
You on top?
before you get us back. You lost Grave.
Diva.
On top?
Oh, sorry. Winston, on point, Winston.
Mercy low, mercy low.
Why did we boop him? Should just
Winston's
damage.
alone.
Send.
We're amping in there. Damn. We amped in the bubble.
Winston's one.
This is
Literally
gonna
one.
help us.
No, he's not.
Okay.
Tin pop trans.
Winston.
Winston on me, backline. Oh boy, that's not
We end up booping him back into our teammate instead of away from our teammate. So our positioning was a little fucked, but we get him. We should be speeding around our bleeding Genji right now. Amp it.
Where are we on? We're on McCree.
Okay.
Genji.
Whatever.
Back up.
And then we amped here? Why? Just slowly let heals happen. I don't need to amp.
Oh, Paul.
Alright, they're gonna be AFK for a bit.
Not in the middle of a Moira ult this time.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh.
Wasn't that the worst?
Let's go to here for now.
Get the God of War PS4 Pro bundle.
Get the Dad of War bundle. Okay. Sure. Was God of War always left-handed? Because now the axe is in the right hand. But he took it out with his left there. Is he just ambidextrous?
We'll do my best to.
In the fight if we can.
Yep.
You guys are ready.
Alright.
Yep, we're ready. I'm with you, monkey.
So where is our Zenyatta? Do we know? How did we end up here? There he is. There he is down by payload. We are looking to peel for him in case they dive him. Do we do that?
Okay, there
Genji,
jumps down.
Discord.
Okay. Move him away, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm healing up.
Still on Genji.
We're nowhere near our dude.
He's bleeding.
We also... Yeah, I remember this beat now. Ugh. We can actually land it on the bubble and get inside and outside. Instead, we're gonna land like perfectly inside the bubble, so we get like one person.
Genji.
That was such a bad beat.
Right same point.
On Mercy.
And then we amp heals briefly during the duration of our beat because we're forced to do that because we know we had a bad beat. We can boop this
On
fucker.
Mercy.
Hey, we did.
Mercy's down.
Good wall climb to get away.
On Diva.
To heals.
Diva 1.
Make sure you're on point.
Diva 1. Got her. On Winston now.
Low.
On Zen.
Oh, nice.
We could have amped more people than just him.
Nice job.
Sorry.
I
Yeah.
should have saved
Alright,
that.
let me get any healing.
Okay. Do they have any heals left?
It's gonna be rough if
We have 6 sound bearers provided. We're averaging three a person.
I'm gonna
That's
They
not
just
good
swapped
enough.
the soldier.
That's really not good enough. Break shield, break shield, break shield, break shield.
Not yet.
There's some small things I'd adjust for sure.
Diva's out of Mac.
Not including the ultimate, which is a much bigger problem, and the positioning with your Zenyatta, which is a much bigger problem.
Oh, nice.
There's no one in our aura right now. At this point, we can switch to frag mode, just wall climb up there.
Oh,
Tracer backline on me.
Winston low.
Tracer on me.
Tracer backline on me.
Winston low.
No reaction to it.
Both
Sorry, dude. I
it's
tried to get to you.
Honestly, I'm just
36. Watch him. Nice.
Zenyatta could have been better positioned for sure. Bow mode could have been better positioned, but you need to be with him, and you shouldn't be notified of someone on him by the comms alone.
Zen.
Tracer.
We're amping out of spawn, which means we don't have for the team fight. We don't wall ride out of spawn either, so we're getting here slower than we need to.
I'm down. Get this baby Diva. Or sorry, this Tracer.
Needles. I'm stuck.
Amp.
Moira backline, Moira, Discord. Moira fade down.
She's
Discord.
one. Got her.
I'm on a cart still.
Boop. We might as well boop.
Winston.
Diva's on me.
We got Mac, we got Trans, veteran point. I'll be right there. Moira's respawning. Moira's coming out of spawn.
Dude, I can't do
Stop
it.
amping out of spawn.
Nice.
I just got a double.
Yeah,
don't
we
worry,
wall
don't worry,
road.
don't worry about it.
Recall down, recall down,
As long
recall
as
down.
there's- as long as there's-
No recall, no recall.
More.
So if Tracer's just stalling point like that, instead of jumping all over payload, just position yourself either at the front of payload or back of payload, and deny her that area of line of sighting your team at. So if she's at front of payload, you're right there already to just plug a few shots at her in a melee, which forces her to the back of payload, and preferably someone is already waiting there to do the same thing. So instead of chasing around payload, which is exactly what you want, you just maintain a static position and wait for her to enter your line of sight. She won't be able to stall
Yeah, boys.
as long
Oof.
if you do that.
Like I fell off on the last bit there.
Alright, we ended up having gold healing, mostly because we were in the fight a lot, which means we should have had like a bunch of ult charge just from that. But our sound barriers were lackluster there. We didn't really put ourselves in danger. No one cares about the weapon accuracy. We have 5 defensive assists and 1 offensive assist. So even though we were healing people, people weren't getting kills during it. It's kind of
all good,
awkward.
man.
I got 2 really nasty, like Tracer picked me really bad.
So individually, on individual heroes, let's say, Zenyatta was generally okay. You were never really in a position to wholly influence a fight. The one trance that we saw in reaction to their Molten Core, their preemptive Molten Core and Coalescence was used just in like reaction to saying that you were going to use it, not because you were actually in need or any danger from the moving team. So that so your ult usage there was poor. Generally your discords were good. Generally your healing orbs were better, or what I would expect from Diamond. Like there were sometimes you drop them on like the wrong person or they weren't staying on your tanks, but it was like mostly your tanks kind of like fucking with you. So I didn't really get a good sense of your Zenyatta playstyle outside of your ult, and your like spam usage. As for your Ana, accuracy definitely needs work. Cooldown management and positioning need work. You need to position yourself further from the fight so you have better sight lines of both people attempting to flank you, the enemy team coming in, and your teammates. You need to actually be aware of that the whole time. You wasted a lot of your clip just kind of over healing people who definitely didn't need it. So when it came time to actually heal them, you only had like about half your clip remaining, which because you were unscoping, were less accurate than you needed to be. I wasn't impressed with any of your nades. There were a couple on long distance Hanamura second point, which you tossed in, which ended up being good, but because of the distance and you waiting to see if they landed or not, you could have just been scope healing people from that distance and have almost the same effect. The issue arises with those long nades where you need them to defend against a tracer flank, which I don't think was happening there, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I think your sleep darts in general just weren't good. You had one good one on a charging Reinhardt on Hanamura first, but in general they were just kind of thrown out like candy. I also have that problem. I don't think your nano boosts were great. You did it once on a Winston to save him when he got hooked, which is an okay use of it. You had another one on a soldier, which wasn't going to get any value. You had 2 on a soldier that wasn't going to get any value. The first one I was thinking of was Hanamura second when soldier's down in lower left with a Reinhardt in your stairwell. He was obviously not going to do anything there, and since you ended up pocketing him through heals even though he wasn't taking damage, your tanks up top who were peeking you and looking specifically from heals and support from you were abandoned, which started a snowball not in your favor. And then you had some positioning errors where you thought you needed to be on point and whatnot. The next one was probably a set play where the guy was just like, hey, I'm visoring nano me. and he visored at a bad time, and you followed up with a nano, making it even worse. As they just kind of like ignored you and just stayed on high ground, and you couldn't bust the shield. So Ana positioning is probably the biggest thing, and then cooldown usage is the latter half. Mercy play, generally good. You have an understanding of who needs to be healed when. There is some issue where you're not looking around and you're only looking at the target you're beaming. I assume that's because you have the setting on where like you guardian angel to who you're looking at rather than who you're beamed to, which I think is largely better. It's less lazy and forces you to be able to jump to people who you are not healing, which I think is good. But it puts you at the habit where like you're not looking around to gather information. You're just like anticipating the need to guardian angel instead of like just flicking to the individual teammates when you need to. In regards to that aim thing, you also don't like switch beams readily enough during Valkyrie to get full advantage and get as many people in your Valkyrie as possible, which is important. I think you pistol just fucking randomly as a meme sometimes. Your aim in pistol isn't the greatest, but your targets weren't exactly easy to track either sometimes. Zenyatta crosshair placement is also a big one that I missed during the Zenyatta section. As for Lucio, our ultimates are not coming out at the right time. We're averaging like 3 people a time. We're not protecting our Zenyatta sometimes. We're not being aggressive with our speed in times when I feel like we could use it to clean up more people. We're just kind of like alone with the tanks some of the times, which isn't great if they end up punishing it. So the Lucio stuff, I'm a little like hesitant to critique because Lucio is so dependent on the situation, what you need to do. Sometimes you can be aggressive with like an amp speed into people once you realize that you guys are up in the fight. Other times you need to make sure your Zenyatta is safe. Sometimes you just need to risk trading your Zenyatta to gain an advantage. Beat drops are used defensively when your tanks are going down. That I definitely did not see. We used it to stall out a point on Oasis. We used it to extend lost fights on payloads. It's just not great there. The aim was good. The general being aloof of Lucio was fine, but I'm not really worried about the Lucio play. The old will come here. I am a little concerned about the Ana play for sure, and just ult usage in general. It just needs to be worked on. I hope you find this useful and not too harsh of a critique. If you have any questions, let me know.